Hello, everybody. Oh, shit. Let's get this framing fixed. Hello, hello, hello. Happy Friday. Pardon me for it being 15 minutes after the hour. I had to eat really fast. It has been, oh, man. It's been quite the fucking weekend day. It's been very busy, you might say. Oh, boy. Happy to see y'all. You ready to hang out? Let's talk about some stuff, shall we? Let me adjust this music here. God, this song is just a jam. I need a... Here's what we're gonna do. Let's see. Here it is. Get some Zelda and chill. How about that? Hopefully that doesn't demonetize me. What's up, everyone? Oh, how's the week been? Oh, give me a second. I just fucking scarfed down a Trader Joe's burrito. You turn down prices for horses and carriage rides. Maybe. Maybe. The problem with... It's a pretty easy change to do that, sort of. I can adjust the globals. The issue right now is that the entire kind of like carriage system, it's the high price is to offset how easy that makes it to traverse like difficult areas. And it's just, I would like to build out that system in greater detail. In fact, this will be a nice segue into what we're going to talk about today. But I would like to build out a fast travel system that is like either encounter based or, oh shit, you know what we can do today? On screen, we can test something that I've actually been wanting to test for a while that I forgot about until this very moment, just because I've been busy with other things. I have like a weird experiment that we're going to test that's directly related to carriages. But, quick version, I would like a travel system, basically it's one of two things. Either, ideally one, we have a real-time travel system where you can just kind of designate like a destination, right? And your character can route there, like auto route there, and you can speed up time to get there, right? And then you'll naturally be encountering various dynamic world events. Think of something like if anyone's ever played like, what's a good example? I guess the one that comes to mind for me is Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead. There's other games like this. Oh, another good one would be like Tales of Maj Ayal, essentially where you can be like, go auto path to here, and, you know, your character will start going. And if you encounter enemies, like at the periphery of your character's perception, then it'll pause and stop. And then it'll be like, oh, you detect enemies, right? And so there's kind of like your travel system, and then of course you can speed up time to make it faster so that you as a player aren't having to wait, you know, like a long time. I would prefer that system because then you would get like dynamic world events, right? But if we can't do that, oh, and then carriages would factor in there, like, you know, you could ride a carriage and then get like additional kind of protection, and you have to pay based on how far you go instead of just this like flat fee. The way that it actually works, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. The second way, that just as a quick interjection, option number 2 would be what you might call a more traditional like fast travel system, which is what you get from games like Kingdom Come Deliverance, right? Where you see your character moving almost like on a map, and there's like a % chance to encounter, or like Fallout, the original Fallout games, there's a % chance to encounter something along the way. And that would be easy to integrate carriages into, because we do the same thing where we just, you know, add cost by the distance, and then the carriages make you less likely to encounter certain like hostile encounters, or even more likely in some cases. Does Red Dead 2 do that? Is there chat that I'm not seeing? No, Lizzie, I think they mean that what I'm describing sounds like Red Dead Redemption 2. It might have an auto travel. I'm struggling to remember. Is there like a carriage system in that game? I can't even remember. But yeah, that would be my ideal. Anyway, that's all kind of besides the point. What's up, everyone? I haven't really done like an intro yet. How we doing? It's Friday. Thanks for joining me today. It's been one hell of a week. I got some stuff to talk with you guys about. It's been very productive, but very, very busy. Basically, the lion's share of my work this week, you guys know that I've been working on, the roadmap and the suggestions and things of that nature. That's kind of what we're going to be talking about a lot today, because I've officially managed to square away all of the user suggestions as of now. I still have my own suggestions and like the staff suggestions to go through, but those are, I think, a little bit faster and easier on the whole, because, I typically only suggest things that I'm pretty sure I want in to be. Hold the button, your horse just auto travels. Ah, gotcha. Yeah, basically, sort of. Yep, I wish you could start your character as a more seasoned adventurer instead of a nobody with no skills. Just you wait, Jesse. It's all in the... So, how do I put this? I've said this in other streams. A big part of why I'm focusing on getting this roadmap in place and like the board in place and then the customization in place, that's like the other big announcement I said last week, and I'm going to formalize it in like a post. Spooky. Lizzie, how about this? I'm going to make a October dev update. It's going to be really spooky and scary because I'll formally announce that we're opening up customization soon, which I'm sure is terrifying for support, right? Burnt Napkin, plan to eventually add Norwar UA stuff. Consider making those mods optional somehow for those who want to keep the vanilla aesthetic. To be honest, probably not. Or rather, like, if you're talking about, guards wearing the armors and you don't like them, I'm not gonna bother to make something like that optional, because it's like, if I made optional patches for like every single thing that someone, like one preference one person has, I would say if that's like something you'd want to do, I understand the inclination. I like the vanilla aesthetic as well. But I think at that point, you're just going to have to use our customization resources to figure out how to change it back yourself. And also because here's the thing is, like, any of the armors and stuff that we add are going to be integrated into the armor and weapon rebalance, right? So it's simple enough to say, hey, guard, can be simple enough to say, hey, guard, wear this uniform or wear this armor outfit or whatever. Guards are actually kind of tricky. So are soldiers, because their NPC records are usually nested within like hella leveled lists, but it's not too hard. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so the idea of like, oh, I wish I could start my character as a more seasoned adventurer instead of always a nobody with no skills. That's a feature request we get a lot. It's one that I've wanted to add for a very long time. Actually, we talk about it somewhere nestled in here, probably in dealing with backstories. But there's just, from where we're sitting, we know what's going to be in the thing. We know what the plan is. We know what the features are going to be. No one else really does. The mod suggestions are a good start, because if there's a specific feature that you want or know of that's added by a specific mod that you know of, you can search for it. But something like that is a little bit amorphous, right? Like, oh, is there a way to have a different, like, instead of starting at level 1 or whatever, can you start at like a more seasoned level? Someone wouldn't really know what to search for in here for something like that, which is why I'm working on the roadmap page on the website, because then we can collate. I showed you guys that already, right? If you want to see it again, I'm sure I can find it. Give me 2 seconds. Let me see. Here's the mock-up that Tyler made us. Shit. Hold up. Did I skip past it? Wow, what the fuck? Man, there's just... I have too much shit up in here. Sorry, give me 2 seconds. I was not planning on showcasing this specific thing. So I gotta find it again. Oh, here we go. Oh shit, the Figma file is somewhere different. Well, whatever. I mean, we can find it later, but suffice to say, to save our time and sanity and whatever, the roadmap's gonna have all of the different kind of overarching, you might say, initiatives, right? So what this would be is like character customization, right? So if you search here, where is it? Or sorry, character start, rather, character creation. So we have several different things in here. Probably the most... Oh, I don't even have dealing with backstories in here so you, whatever. Short answer, yeah, you're going to get that feature for sure. There's going to be a big overhaul to how characters are created. And yet again, I've let myself get sidetracked. So, the roadmap's coming. Customization's coming. That's the big deal. I sorted through all the user cards. That took a long time. It was like 850 or something like that, but they're all fucking squared away now. So again, I have to go through my suggestions and the staff suggestions, then I have a couple repositories of other suggestions that I've been sitting on, right? But I think it's going to be really fucking cool. I'm really excited. I'm especially excited to get you guys customization resources because I know that everyone's been waiting on it for a long time. And obviously that's going to really start opening up what we are able to do as a dev team. I've said this a million times, but you know, I have to currently split my time between freelance and this project because even though I love this project and it's what I'd prefer to spend all of my time on, I have to live and make money as a human being, right? And try and get enough money to afford a house and all the other real adult goals. So when the customization pipeline is open, it makes it a lot easier for our smaller volunteer team to kind of process features faster, assuming that people kind of learn to patch and kind of work on them themselves. Which even if a very, very small percentage of users do that, which they already do, they just kind of don't do it officially. It's already a big help. Like any stuff that we don't have to do manually is a big, big help. So I'm really excited about that. What was I gonna say? Well, I guess I can talk a little bit. Additionally, I've been talking a lot about the controls and the, HUD interface design. I managed to restrict myself from actually fiddling with the HUD mock-up this week because there was just too much to do. But I did do... I don't know. I'm pretty fucking excited, y'all, about the new controls in HUD. I think it's going to be really fucking cool. I think that we're going to have gamepad support that is just unparalleled. I think we're going to have keyboard controls, frankly, that are unparalleled because a lot of the features that we're bringing to the control scheme and the HUD and whatever are just not something I think I've ever seen in Skyrim before. There are more tools available to us now. I can show you a little bit of kind of what I've been messing with because it doesn't really rely on like the mock-up, and we need to jump in game anyway. So what I'm going to do is... Did I install these? No. Let's see. I don't need you or you or you. That's fine. Oh yeah, some of these crazy things. Wizard Warrior. Improve loading screen colors. I'll leave that in there. I thought I downloaded these mods. Did I not? I guess not. Less intrusive HUD. Uninstalled, maybe? Whatever. Here, I'll just search for him again. Okay. Real-time waiting. This is one. And then, what is it? Touring carriages? Oh, maybe I downloaded them to the wrong mod organizer. So yeah, today's gonna be pretty chill, everyone. To be honest, I'm pretty fucking burnt out. I'm just gonna be taking it easy. I don't even really know quite what to show off today because a lot of it's really managerial. I guess what I can do. So one of the benefits of going through all of these suggestions is that I get to build out kind of notes like conceptually on a lot of the new mechanics that are coming. So I guess what we can do with this stream. Ooh, this is a good mix. This is the Hyrule Castle theme. Maybe what makes the most sense is we can really lean into the QA portion of this stream. So if you have questions about a particular kind of feature or area of the experience that you are wondering kind of what's that going to be like, what's the plan for that, we probably have the best formulated, materials to explain it to you than we've ever had. And that's, of course, the initiative is to continue improving those so that you won't have to rely on something like a stream-based Q&A to get the answers to your questions. You can just go on the roadmap page. But since that's not ready yet, go ahead and toss them my way if you've got them while I do this other stuff, and I can answer them for you. And we'll talk about, the controls and the HUD and whatever. Oh, thank you, Rolo. Also, congrats, Jesse. That's rad. Small success. That's not... calculus is fucking gnarly. I was lucky when I was in undergrad, or I was in high school, I tested at a really good calculus teacher for AP. I think ours was the calculus courses I feel like offered by AP programs either translate to like AB or BC calculus in school, at least where I live. And I believe I got to test out of like the BC units. So I didn't have to take a whole lot of math in actual college because my major was film. And I don't know if you guys know this, but you don't do a lot of math in film, especially not film theory. Okay, touring carriages. You know what? It is here. That is funny. Okay, well, here. Remove. And we're going to delete this. That makes a lot of sense why it's not there then. Or wait, did I just download it right now? No, I'm a fool. It wasn't there. I just downloaded it in the other window. You know how to change language in Skyrim SE on Xbox Pass on PC? I'm sorry, I have no fucking clue how to do that. Do not have the Game Pass version. If it's like changing changing the language for Steam, you do it, I believe, in Steam. I have no idea how to do it in the Game Pass version. Sorry. Computer science, you would do a lot of math, I imagine. I actually started out computer science. I think I've said that before, but I was too lazy and I wanted to party and not work hard. Is there a plan for easing carry weight of gold? Oh yeah, sure. Let's bring those up. Here, we can take this whole window. Let me make sure. Hold on, give me 2 seconds here while I get my that's interesting. That's working. These two mods, real-time waiting. I have no idea how this is going to work. I'm very curious to see. This is just like a fun idea that I had that if it works, if even one portion of it works, it would be pretty cool. Whoop. Okay, so first come, first serve. Easing carry weight, right? Let's talk about that real fast. Of gold, specifically. So here's likely what's gonna happen. Oh, and also plans for GOG Skyrim support? Maybe, if it's not... really the only thing that's restricting us right now is whether it can work with Wabbajack. That's really the only barrier. I don't believe it can currently. That might have changed, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. And if it can't, that's not really something... That's kind of out of our hands, unfortunately. Okay. So, here is how coins will very likely work, right? can't be... Oh, the GOG version can't be downgraded? Well, I mean, Wabbajack is what does our downgrading anyway, so we can lump it into one. Coins of interesting nature. So this is basically how I plan for coins to work, right? This is a mod. Tate Taylor is the best. Let me turn down my... hold on, I'm going to turn up the music a little bit for you guys. I think that's pretty low. Downgrading would put the DRM back on the EXE. Ah, well, maybe not then, you might say. Need a user to own a Steam copy. Well, I mean, they don't... Is that always going to be the case, or they can't... Well, I mean, the problem is, too, is that Wabbajack now... Like, Halgari is the lead developer of Wabbajack, and he is now... He's literally going to be working for Nexus. So, unfortunately, it's probably... If you have to if there's some sort of big kind of new features that need to be added to Wabbajack, unless someone else on his team is capable and inclined, I don't really know the answer to that. But, you know, it's probably we should not expect major features to come to Wabbajack after that. Oh, dang. Well, all right. Then maybe someday if we're able to upgrade to the latest, version of Skyrim, then we can support like GOG or whatever, perhaps. But I really can't say. And as of right now, I think that's still a ways off. Because frankly, I feel very lucky every day that we use the old version without like the crazy Bethesda updates that really don't do anything. Okay, so here's coins of interesting natures. Here, I've long been a fan of mods that add new coins to the game. The fact that you can find septims deep in Dwemer ruins or Draugr crypts that have not been touched in hundreds, if not thousands of years has always bugged me. However, none of the current offerings gave me quite what I wanted. I've been planning this mod on and off for nearly a year and a half, figuring out exactly what I want to do with it, and gaining the proper permissions in order to release it in a form that I would be happy with. Coin will add several new types of coins to your game at varying rarities, and placed in locations that are logical and make sense within the world of the Elder Scrolls. You will never find septims on Draugr ever again. However, that is only half of what Coin has to offer. This mod is also a lightweight economy overhaul. The new coins you find around the world will generally be worth less than a normal gold coin. This makes it so that it is substantially harder to get rich quick off of a few dungeons. Now gaining wealth will be a much more interesting obstacle as you progress through your playthrough. So that's all cool, right? I would say, I mean, Wabbajack, I think it can be relied upon in the sense that like it already works and does everything I would hope for it to do, and assuming that like nothing breaks it, which is not necessarily a safe assumption, but it's hard for me to think of what might. You just never know. I can't know what I don't know in this sphere. But I don't know. I'm kind of fine. And, you know, secretly, I'm holding out hope that it's like, well, imagine, of course this is a stretch, but imagine if Halgari managed to make, you know, Vortex, or I love Mod Organizer too. It's hard for me to imagine going to Vortex specifically. But if he can make, you know, the collection systems have anywhere near the functionality of Wabbajack, then that would be cool. That just means more people can play it. Anyway, so the thing that I like about Coin is, well, it's a couple things. One, almost most importantly, no septims in places where they shouldn't be. So Draugr tombs shouldn't have septims. Fucking, you know, random Dwemer ruins, other ruins shouldn't have septims. So that part's cool, and you get these really awesome models of different currencies. And there's also this abstraction of coins. This is the second most important part. This is where the carry weight comes in. Frankly, to me, I think carry weight for currency is kind of a silly mechanic, in the sense that any currency in like the history of the planet has multiple denominations in the same way that like poker chips do, right? Like you're not going to be in a situation where you need to carry around like a boatload of poker chips. You'll just get poker chips that are worth more individually. That's basically how Coin works. It has a script that kind of quote-unquote auto-converts the other coins if you want it to. That's kind of like where I'm still undecided. So, for example, here, right, This mod works. The implementation is probably my ideal scenario, at least having the option where you just assume for the sake of conversation, like maybe you can have gold weight have like a very, very, very small amount of weight just to simulate how even, if you have the largest denominations, you might be carrying a little bit of it. But really, I don't give a shit about it. I think that like the carry weight should really be limited elsewise, because really there's no reason why I should have to, I can be carrying 10,000 gold can be 1,000 coins, right? Like, no problem. So that would weigh nothing at all. The other options, of course, you have a lot of different mods in this sphere. There's things like exchange currency, which we used to do, which add various like banknotes and things like that you manually exchange. I appreciate that kind of stuff. I think it's pretty cool. I just think that in practice, a lot of those mods just became a little bit too... One, they're kind of micromanaging and I think lean it a little bit more into like the tedious, unfun category. And two, they're not intuitive for people who don't understand, how it works. Obviously, tutorialization, that is a hard word to say, is an important thing that we are working on more and more all the time. I can actually talk a little bit about that today. But ideally, something, even a complex system ideally works in an intuitive way that someone can kind of understand and figure out just by playing. So I think that this whole kind of, as you pick up coins, you can just assume that you're getting denominational coins, right? So the weight isn't that important. And for these alternative coins that are not septums, right? Like the septums that you find, the coins that you find in these random places, that's the toss-up for me. I haven't decided if I want them to auto-convert into gold value as well, which would be totally fine. It would honestly be the simplest, easiest, most intuitive version of this implementation, right? And I'd say it's a very strong argument to just do it that way. But I think the models are really cool. I think that it's actually kind of cool to imagine players getting to collect like some of those if they want, or if, they have a character who's a fucking, I don't know, has an interest in a specific culture or just has an interest in currency or something, and you don't want those coins to be auto-converted into gold when you pick them up. I was like, hey, maybe you just can, like here, now with the question of whether the coins should auto-convert as they do by default, or we add coin merchant exchange and let players exchange them at a vendor to give that little extra sense of realism. So here's where I'm thinking maybe we'll have a happy middle compromise between something like exchange currency and this kind of auto-converting system, where you get a little dialogue that says, hey, can I exchange coins for septums? That way you can still collect your, whatever they were called in the you can still collect your malas and your enschwarks and your gibbers and whatever you want. And you just, you swap them the same way you would. You're asking, it's like when I go to the gas station, right? And I say, can you break a 20 so that I have like some money to give as tips? Not gas station, sorry, car wash. Everyone does this. So I thought that would be cool. You get to see the models. It still delivers this idea that there's a whole ass currency system. So I feel like that implementation achieves every goal, and I don't think it's that micromanaging either. I think it's a dialogue option, here that is just super simple. So there's basically the answer, if that didn't cover all of your questions. But if the highest valuable is gold, it would actually be gold is a colloquialism. The metal itself can be anything you want, just like, or you can have we can have an in-universe explanation, but gold is just think of it as a medieval term for dollars or whatever the heck. It's not literally gold. At least it's not in the universe of Wildlander, and it certainly isn't even now. And this is what I mean. Some of those exchange currency mods, like not exchange currency in particular, but I think some of them look or some of them would even add things like, oh, you can convert 500 septums or 1,000 septums to a gold bar, which is like, oh, thank you for 11 months, non-note. Currency exchange is the one I'm talking about, by the way. That is like, okay, so now septims are literally gold, which carries like other implications. You know what I mean? It's kind of like okay, what was next? There was injury system. So injury system as of now is still planned at the very baseline to be incremental injuries. I believe that's like on here somewhere. Let's see. Would that be, do I have a specific label for that? I'm also working on, for the roadmap, you're going to have a nice, thorough explanation. Oh god, I hate this fucking, hold on, let's see. Injury? I don't think so. It'd probably be combat mechanics. Let's see, it's somewhere. I can just search by name as well, but it's fun to see all these, you know, kind of laid out as they are. It's not in here? Maybe it's not on there. Let's see. Injure. Follower death and oh, it's actually not. Well, I'll have to make sure to add this. In fact, I can do this right now. Go assessed and approved, add card. And this gives us a reason. Put this over here. Incremental injuries. That actually surprises me. Do I have wounds on here? I feel like I do. Maybe I don't. So here's incremental injuries. Let's see. Wounds. Yeah, I do. So I have wounds on here, but not incremental injuries, which is funny. But alright, we'll add it. Did I just add an empty card somewhere? Assessed and approved, add card, incremental injuries. We'll add the link. We'll say adds an injury system that, I swear I added a card for this. Hooks into survival modes. Attribute bar capping. So I can kind of deal with this later. I'm going to call that combat mechanics. And also, that should get a HUD and interface. There it is. How did it know? Say approved. So incremental injuries works like this. Also, Wash, it would be neat if you can get better exchange rates depending on who you're turning them into. Like maybe someone like Calselma would pay a higher rate for currency found in Dwemer Ruins. You can, with how I plan to implement it. It's not that much work, to be honest. It's because I already have a framework for regional, right? Like regional pricing, thanks to trade routes, and it's really not that hard to adapt even. So like you can have something like, you know, in certain areas, something like a Dwemer coin is worth more or less. You want to be careful with that in a currency situation, because currencies are like you would imagine if it's an exchange currency like this that, you know, of course exchange rates can vary. They shouldn't vary too much, or else it's kind of like weird, or like, you know, unless someone like really hates a certain kind of coin or something, like a particular vendor. But you can totally do like, you know, fucking, if a Dwemer coin is like a collector's item for someone like Calselmo, that's a great example. You can totally do that, and having them be separate items allows us to do fun stuff like that. Let's see. What's up, GP? How you doing? So, incremental injuries, the way that this works at a very basic level is that you, sometimes when you get hit, or you, what's it called? Really just when you take damage to any of your major kind of bars, you will slowly lose access to your total amount of these stats, right? I might not go with that exact method of accruing like injuries, right? Like I might, you know, limit it to something like actual injuries, like the way that something like wounds does, where someone like attacks you. To be honest, here's kind of like my thing. Wounds and incremental injuries are almost like opposite sides of a spectrum, right? Incremental injuries is very much on the like streamlined, simpler, intuitive, easy to understand side of the spectrum that might also like the con to that pro might be that it's even oversimplified in terms of depth, right? Wounds is on the opposite side, where it is extremely deep and detailed. It's very much it's analogous to spell research in this way, which makes sense because it's by the same author. But wounds, we can bring that up as well, especially since I have an easy link right here. Say wounds. Wounds is the opposite. It is very deep and very detailed. You have, different types of injuries, cuts, concussions, bruises, broken bones. So you need to treat them in different ways. They have different effects. I really like all of that stuff. The issue is that it's complex, and this is an older mod too at this point, older comparatively. And the way that your wounds are displayed in game, we might have a picture of it here. We don't, but trust me when I say the way that it's displayed by default is like you in your active effects, you just get a bunch of crazy stacked like effects, and it's not what you call intuitive. But that's something we could potentially address, right? Like it's not. I have crazy more like HUD abilities now, like ways to show you injuries of various kinds and severities and whatever. So if I wanted to, I could like add like a wounds kind of HUD thingy. So what I'm going to do, now I'm not super, in fact, you know what, I should change this one. I meant to do this anyway since I'm here. I'm going to say needs further assessment because I don't want to have this decline. Wounds is awesome. We're going to say, but I'm gunning for a more streamlined columns wrap incremental injuries. Our implementation should find the happy middle between these two. Still intuitive, but also a deep and fun, or a system, sorry, with depth and fun interactions. There you go. So I'm going to move that to needs further assessment, and basically I'm going to copy paste this to, where is it? Incremental injuries. Here, I guess for the sake, I mean, both, maybe they should both kind of be approved in that sense, but I'll put them both in a needs further assessment just for consistency's sake. Say needs further assessment. I love the streamlined and intuitive nature of incremental injuries, but I also love the depth of wounds. Our implementation should find the happy middle, blah, 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 blah. So that's kind of the idea, right? Yes, Abdullah, it absolutely is. And yes, some user, this is where it's important. You can notice that I should add time elapse to this one as well. My ideal kind of injuries implementation, as you can tell from these labels, includes like time elapse, right? Like if you have a means to elapse time and fun things to do, while you do it, that's kind of necessary to a wound system that requires you to kind of recover somewhat realistically, because otherwise it's just not fun, right? Or even if all you're doing is really spending time, resting in bed, that's okay. You should have other fun things potentially to do while you're resting, but even if it's just that, that's okay. It just means that you need to give the player a way to speed up time in a way that doesn't, then make it annoying versus fun. So the details of that injury system, I'll have to revisit, and I can share it as we, kind of cross that bridge. But rest assured that what I really like about incremental injuries is I think that the whole like capping out your various attributes is a really kind of intuitive and also precedented implementation of an injury system. You see this I remember the first time I encountered something like that, it was Metal Gear Solid 3. And I always thought that was a cool kind of just way to do it, right? And it's also intuitive because I think that most viewers, or players rather, when viewers in a literal sense, see their HUD and they see that kind of capped part of it, they kind of understand what that means. Like, oh, the concept of having your max health or your max magic or your max stamina, the concept of those being capped in some way is like, very precedented in games. I think people will kind of get that, even if they don't understand quite how to, fix it. And then that's what hooks them into the injury system. Oh, did we get another spammer? Okay. So there's injuries. Hopefully that answers your guys' questions. Please let me know if I missed anything, and I'd be happy to revisit. So what was the next one? Also, yes, Abdullah, absolutely true. Learn and make our own systems to truly accomplish our goals. That's basically what we do. Depending. Will there be updates to NPC looks, like old women looking young, that sort of thing? So maybe. I don't. If you give me specific NPCs, I can revisit. But like the NPCs as they are now are pretty vanilla, at least in terms of their appearance design. We really only use high poly heads. I think sometimes people think like the textures make them look younger or something, and in which case we can try and look for different like old person textures. I see a lot of old women in the game who look pretty fucking old to me, so I don't really, I'd have to take it on a case by case basis. But maybe. What's my thoughts on Nexus Collections? I mean, yeah, we were just talking about that. That's Halgari. He's the creator of Wabbajack, which we use. Nexus Collections is a cool concept, right? Like, I mean, it's basically like Vortex, where I like the idea that many, many people can access this. And I think that people have been using collections to a fairly high degree, so that's cool. For our purposes, it's not yet a suitable replacement for what we do, but maybe one day. Okay. Oh, I see the spam. Let's see. Yeah, see, there's like the healing poultice, like revisiting the wounds really fast. Like if most of the functionality from wounds gets roped into the healing poultice, that's like I think the healing poultice sucks. Or like the healing poultice is fine. It's like the healing poultice would be cool as like, for those, poultice, I don't even know how you're supposed to pronounce it. But that, for those of you who don't know, that's like a first aid thingy, kind of like a medieval term for what is essentially like a bandage combined with like a salve that is supposed to be medicinal, right? Or like disinfecting. It's kind of like an early first aid version of Neosporin, we'll say, right? And I appreciate what Requiem, was trying to do with the healing poultice, but it's just, that is an example to me of like overly simplistic to the point of not really being engaging or fun in any way. At least it doesn't have the depth that I would personally enjoy. Yes, so wounds, like you have to try and, this is difficult to do, but the reason I even have a label for what we'll say, for time passing or time elapse, right, is that time elapse is planned to be a very important component of the design, right? So I know I'm asking a lot here when I say kind of try to extrapolate out what that might mean from a design perspective, because obviously that's easy. It's easy for us to do because we know how it's all going to work. It's much harder for the user to do because you guys don't see all the stuff that we have access to. It's what they call the developer God view. But the fact that this label exists, I think, for you guys, thank you, Lizzie, also for doing that. If you can imagine, so the Wildlander is a simulation experience. Imagine anything that you can think of in the current experience that you think, that seems like realistically it should take up some time. It should elapse some time. For everything you can think of that applies to, that thing is probably planned to elapse time. Does that make sense? Oh, it's Halgari here right now. Hey, what's up, dude? Convincing players to not reload and redo a fight, they don't like the outcome. And somehow... Yeah, I mean, that is also magic is a funny one. Where it's like, oh, wounds, I can't just heal this with like restoration. But yeah, I mean, as far as like players save scumming, I've thought about whether or not I want to restrict something like that. It's just, I don't know. That's the kind of thing where it's like there's not a ton of unsolvable problems. I think you could always restrict when they're able to save. I think one of like the best solutions that I've thought of would be basically what you have with a lot of contemporary action RPGs, where you can't save scum. We turn off manual saves, except for like certain instances, right? But we have auto saves running all the time in the background that you would load. Obviously, it's Skyrim, so while we are constantly working on stability and you know are proud of the stability and yada yada yada. It's Skyrim, so you can't. There needs to be saving, and it needs to either, if it's going to be auto saving, it needs to happen frequently, and if it's going to be, you know, not auto saving, you can't take away people's ability to save, because it's not something you can do. But I think that would be an ideal system. It's just the auto save, because also we have mechanics planned for like defeat, right, and not death, but like death alternatives, and if players can just, you know. It's definitely the kind of thing where I would make it optional, maybe within the launcher. Say, hey, do you want to play, you know, like without saving the way that we do it, or do you still want the ability to save scum? Because if a player, I mean, players will often make choices to their own detriment, right? In terms of fun, it's just something we do sometimes because we just think something will be fun, and we think something will enjoy a way that it is, and we don't, and vice versa. So I'm not above kind of forcing certain things, certain kind of mechanics and stuff, but something like saving and save scumming, I understand a lot of like, even though this is kind of the kind of experience I enjoy, right, is not save scumming in the vast majority of cases, there are still games where I just want to be able to save scum, like, for example, Bannerlord, right, like the Mount & Blade series. The punishment, I think it can be narratively interesting, like having to suffer a defeat, but sometimes I just want to be able to save scum so I can continue winning, and that's just like where I'm at mentally for when I'm playing it. So I don't want to take that option away from people if they want it, but I do want an option to be available where it, you know, either makes it impossible to or strongly discourages save scumming as well. Autosave on travel is disabled because it's not a good way to do autosaves. If you have autosave on travel enabled, it will make your load times significantly longer. I would much rather have an internal timer, either an internal timer combined with certain events that happen frequently that will institute an autosave. And also that way we can specifically check for whether or not it's safe to save, which saving on travel does not, because it's like sometimes it's not safe to make a save in Skyrim. Sometimes there's scripts that are running and it can cause problems. It can kind of corrupt your save. That is not something I believe that autosave on travel takes into account. I'm pretty sure it just saves when you transfer cells. So not a good thing. I remember that quote actually, Liam. So yeah, that's the basic idea there. Let's see here. Yeah, and so just commenting on the over reliance on UI for wounds. Not only is it over rely on the UI, you might say, but it's just sometimes the UI is a great way to do it. You have to design it carefully, though. You have to, like, for example, here we'll jump in game and I can even show this off. We got our two mods, touring carriages, real time waiting. All right, let's launch. Spell research, one of the things, in addition to kind of the ultimate add-on that makes things so much more intuitive and gives you all these like HUD add-ons that explain it a bit better, even just the spell research journal, right? When you open up the spell research journal, you are hit with a message box that asks, what do you want to do? And there's like 6 or 7 options that all sound super esoteric, I'm speaking from the perspective of someone who's never used spell research before, or even, you know, speaking from the perspective of a new Wildlander user who doesn't even know what the hell spell research is, in terms of it being, you know, this it's a mod. Oh great, here comes the YouTube spam. Hold on. I really should start getting these just up in the background. Watch my own channel. Here we go. Pause. We're gonna do live chat. Get on, go on. Get that spam out of there. So the perspective of a brand new Wildlander user, a lot of classes that you can choose, right, have, in fact, here, let's do it right now. We'll have an example. I'm going to turn off our Zelda and chill. We'll crank up the volume a little bit and get Skyrim going. And you can see what I mean, where many of the classes that you can choose right now are... they get a spell research journal by default. We'll wait for this to go, and you're like, oh cool, like you just see one in your inventory and you're like, oh, what's that? And you click it and it's like, choose what you want to do, and it's like begin analysis, create thesis, do this, do that, and you're like, what? Like, what the hell? And it's an example of one of the issues, and I've said this a million times at this point, but in case no one's ever heard me rant about it, it's not really a rant, it's just an explanation. Tutorialization in a lot of these mods is practically non-existent, because, oh, here, we can check and see if the, I was just supposed to fix the Dark Elves' faces, the males specifically. Male. They're naked. I'm probably going to want to prevent this as a condition for character creation, at least. Race. Where the hell's race? Oh, I guess I gotta change it here. Dark elf. That looks a bit younger. His hair's looking a little weird. Whatever. This guy. Yes. It absolutely would, Liam. I'll show you. Here, choose background. We need a spellcaster of some kind. Battle mage. That ought to do it. Lady. Wilds. Go to my favorite Riften spot because I love it. It's been a while since I did this, actually. Most of the time I spawn in Morthal's Inn right now. Yo, thank you for 5 months, Dulzen. Look at that low-res statue texture. Beautiful. Love it here. Oh, that's right, I have Nature of the Wildlands still on. Look at that scuffed UI. So I should have a spell research journal, right? So you activate the spell. Yo, thank you for 6 months. Curanus, 84. So you hit the spell research journal and analyze spell, begin research, compose thesis, compose spell, craft scroll, craft tome. So some of these are pretty intuitive, right? Analyze spell, you're like, oh, okay, I guess I can analyze spells. Begin research, compose thesis, compose spell. Now we're starting to get it pretty confusing. Yo, thank you for 5 months, Sendutaku. Man, all the, what's it called, subs coming in right now. You don't, what the fuck even is any of this, right? It's, what you have is a byproduct of, the design makes sense when you consider that all the way up until installable, auto-installable mod packs became a thing. Modding in this scene could reliably, more or less, assume, every mod could reliably assume that the user who's using it, that's redundant, but just bear with me, that the user manually sought that mod and installed it themselves, right? That's very different than when a user is experiencing the mod through a mod pack where they're not sure exactly which mod is responsible for what, right? So when you get this menu, what it assumes is that you've seen the spell research mod page. Probably you've read the description. That's how you knew you wanted to install it to begin with. Unfortunately, many users would not read those, and it's an age-old tale of people being in the comments section being like, how do I do this? And the author's like, Read the description, it's right there. So really there's an argument to be made for good tutorialization anyway, just assuming that users won't read anything. But you have users who just have no clue what spell research is. They pop in Wildlander because it's designed to be a, basically equivalent to throwing a disc into your Xbox. And they don't know what any of this is. And there's no explanation for what any of it is. By contrast, right? I believe, let me just throw up one of these, is it one of these? Like, I don't know. I don't have access to any. I don't have a follower right now. But like some of like the follower message boxes, or even if you just think like some of the message boxes that are in the first part, what I've tried to do with message boxes is like illustrate what the options are that you're looking at. Like in this message box for spell research, you could have like, instead of just what do you want to do, underneath what do you want to do, you can have like analyze spell, here's what that does, and just like so on and so forth, right? So why, like, that's the kind of stuff you got to do if you're going to have these complex systems. And because it's not that complicated, and actually the depth is a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun to be had with these complex systems, and with Iron Dusk mods in particular, there's so much cool shit like baked in. There's fun problem solving and experimentation and things that actually, of course it's not for everybody, but it's a really, in my opinion, cool parallel or analog for, like a studious wizard. It's almost like a mini game unto itself, like within the game world, that also it's a mini game that hooks into all the other game systems, which is of course exactly the kind of thing that we'd want to do. So it's cool that it's there, but it doesn't help, it's not fun for anyone to not have any real means of figuring out what the fuck's going on, in like an easy way. So, oh, cool. YouTube spam. Well, at the very least, it seems like it's only coming in one message at a time now. That's like less intrusive. Oh, wait, no, that was the one. Yo, my boy Ricky's in the chat. What's up, dude? I'm gonna say hello to Ricky. Yeah, so blah, 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 blah. You get it. Yeah, so Great Padinsky, having never used the mod myself, I have no idea. Yeah, why would anyone... I mean, you know what, like, craft a scroll is, or craft a tome, but you don't know, like, what or why you'd be able to do that, or whether you can or not, and you can't in a lot of cases. So it's tricky, right? And this is the kind of thing that you want to be able to address. And so going back to the topic of wounds is like it'll tell you a notification that says, you cut your arm or whatever, which is cool. Wounds is comparatively not as intense as spell research. It's not nearly as complicated. But the way that it communicates like the effects is mostly through like the active effects. You get like a red thing like this, but it's like it's complicated to even try and explain without just showing you guys, and I don't think it's really worth the time. But you have like a bajillion different negative effects that don't actually necessarily say what the effect is. You have to like check it and then go check like a sub effect to see kind of like what it's doing, and it's just not what I'd call intuitive. But I'm sure if Iron Dust built it now, he might do it a little bit differently. We obviously have a lot of ways to represent things on the HUD now. Like our HUD is going to be fucking crazy. I'm going to talk a little bit. Please remind me to talk a little bit about some of the advancements, quote unquote, that I've been working on. Because I think I've got some stuff that's, assuming, knock on wood, it works the way that I think it can. I think it's going to blow you guys' minds, to be honest. I actually saw someone mention it. Hold on. Maybe this is a good reason. Okay, so we covered wounds, and we covered... what was the first one? Coins. What were the other systems that we wanted a Q&A about? Hit me with them. Oh, here's one. Are follower horses currently a thing or planned? Yeah, the follower live package horses are kind of bleh. The followers will ride horses if you buy the horses for them, but that's going to get a little bit more attention to make it like a street, because it's like immersive horses method of doing it. It's kind of confusing too. So we'll improve that for sure. We were trying to ship out a fix to hotkeys not working with weapons with different temperings before next year. Maybe other token? That's a good question. That's related to like the controls in general. I don't think the controls like update, like the full one, will be out before next year, but at the very least I might be able to ship the well, we're gonna replace the group hotkeys from Sky UI completely. It's broken, and fixing it is something that's currently both beyond our ability to do, and also not something I'm particularly interested in, because I think there's better ways to do it. I think what I would do, it would almost be like a hot fix. I'd probably just throw categorize favorites menu in there, which I think is it has its own equip set system, which works a little bit differently, but I think it's fine. And just in general, it makes it easier to manage your controls. But the real solution to me is the whole ass controls overhaul, right, that I'm working on with the HUD, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. I'm just going to scroll through here and make sure I didn't miss any questions that I'd like to answer. Daryl says, something I like about Skyrim is the ability to just save and stop playing. I like modern games where I have to travel somewhere to save my progress. Yes, I don't like that either. And so this system that I'm talking about, you wouldn't even have to save and stop playing. You could just stop playing, and it would resume right where you left off. Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. Someone says, is Wildlander a succession to Alt Sky? Yes. That is exactly correct. Yeah, Sendutaku, that is something that I'm actually, like, the Latin of, like, spell research or whatever's going on there, that's a thing that I would probably change. Liam, yeah, do you mean the economy changes of what sort? Are you talking about the currency? Because that we did cover. Alright, cool. So we're live. Alright, so first things first. I'm not going to talk about the controls yet, but we're going to go and see if this craziness functions the way that, well, the way that I hope, but, you know, we'll see. I am looking at real-time waiting. So I'm going to make this hotkey bracket. Hold. Okay, so let's test this out. Oh, I'm tired, apparently. Oh, because I'm wearing heavy armor. Get out of here. I'm going to be naked. I'm going to put these on. I go player dot. No, let's do PAT super. That way I just don't have to worry about it. Now I'm not tired anymore. Now we're... Oh, here we go with the spam. God, that's annoying. Okay. Let's go ahead and see, first and foremost, how this speeding up time works. We're going to save. Changes to the systems of economy, trade routes. Well, changes of what sort would be my question. We are planning to add supply and demand mechanics where purchasing large amounts of stuff or selling large amounts of stuff in an area can affect the economy. Several of the missives types of jobs, I'm thinking in the future I might try and expand to interact with something like that. In general, the regional pricing is going to be expanded further, so that there's like certain items that it doesn't cover right now, and I think, you know, we can do that. But, you know, if there's something that's particularly standing out to you, I can answer it. Alright, so here I'm holding Y. The time is... Oh, no, it's not Y. It's bracket. Okay, so game speeds up. You can see it going. Pretty cool. Now, my character's clearly in, like, an animation that has removed my controls. So, for something like this, what I'm planning to work, we need to adjust that. So, you know, maybe there's a reason that they're doing that. This is cool, though. Very sick. We're shutting down our hot Tinder dates. Have you tried harvesting horkers with Hunterborn? I have not personally, not in a long time. It tells you what time it is. Alright, so that's all pretty cool. I like that you cross your arms, too. It's like a nice little effect. Load that back. What's... Wildlander is your current mod loader... He's standing there menacingly. Yes, I think it's very much modeled after the Witcher 3 meditation? That's a great question, Peon. Okay, so we'll talk about factions and relationships and with NPCs and stuff. And then we'll talk about controls, right? Horkers because of absurd yields. Ah, gotcha. Ember's XD is in there already. Canvox. We're gonna go to Whiterun. This actually might get wild. I don't know what's gonna happen here. Or it might be normal. Okay, so my idea here, what happens if we get in one of the touring carriages? First of all, it's crazy that someone tried to do touring carriages again, right? It used to be scenic carriages. Carriages. Let's see here.
Yes?
Jorlum. God, that zoom. I'd like to hire your carriage.
Where do you want to go?
I don't know. Fucking... let's go to... the Pale. Also, we need to edit these, because, like, who even knows how to navigate the world based on these hold names? Not me. Actually, I do. Mostly.
Going straight through,
I think this is Windhelm. Yeah, so we're going to Windhelm.
Climb and back, and we'll be off.
Now, is this going to do the thing?
Windhelm's a bit cold for my tastes. I ain't talking about...
No, I might have done this wrong. It might just warp me. In fact, okay, I did do it wrong, I think. Okay, so we're going to load. And in fact... Oops, hold on. I might have to... Speaking of reading... We might have to read the page here. Would someone mind explaining? Xeron, it's Wildlander's a mod pack for Skyrim. It's kind of, it's like a standalone thingy, standalone experience. Oh, so what do they call it? Fucking total conversion mod pack. Or I think that applies. You get a lot of animal. Well, how much animal fat are we talking, John? We can always adjust it if it's too much. I changed message position through a custom edit to SkyHUD. You can find there should be a website link if you look, scroll down. Oh, you're on YouTube right now. Shit. Go to wildlandermod.com. Twitch has that stuff. YouTube. Yes, it is. Canvox. Traverse the Ulvenwald. I've never even heard of it. Okay, so how are we supposed to, interact with these mechanics? Where's my... There we go. Touring carriages. This says... Ride for wagon, vanilla quarter, replacement for scenic carriages and real carriages. Travel to 9 holds, stop in settlements along the way. Pausing. Okay, maybe I just chose the wrong dialogue. What's up,
Ready
brother? Changed my mind.
Don't blame me if your feet get sore.
I need to adjust that.
Need something?
Oh, look, I like to hire your carriage.
Where do you want to go?
So it might be just straight overriding, which could be a problem. I might not be able to do it here without. Alright, hold up. We're gonna have to take a look at what's going on under the hood here. I assumed throwing it at the bottom would do it, but not if we might have to make a little teensy patch here. What is a Wildlander? Is it some kind of fruit? Yes, of course. Sure, Hector. I mean, the entire skill system as it is being completely gutted and replaced. Okay, so while this is... I mean, it's not going to take very long to load. I'll just look at this. What was the other system we were going to talk about first? I know we were going to talk about reputation and NPCs. I think there was one before that. Or was that it? Oh, someone asked, what are your thoughts on making a Skyrim VR version of Wildlander? I would really love to. I think about that a lot, more and more lately. There's a lot to consider. It would be a huge, huge endeavor. It's definitely not something that I would try and do until we have the customization open, because I'm going to need the help from the community. There's a lot of considerations that are particular to VR that I just do not know about. And so a port would be... VR doesn't support ESL. Well, that's a problem. That almost, that might actually just take it off the table. At least it's going to make it a lot harder. Dialogue topic. Let's do dialogue carriage. We were looking at Whiterun. Oh. Okay. So we might actually have been able to do it, but we need... So we're gonna... Okay, hold on.
Going straight through, or did you want to stop somewhere along the way?
No, these are all... okay. I think I might know what's happening here. Touring carriages... all... So these are probably being bypassed, to be honest with you. No, that one's not. Referenced. Yeah, okay. So I bet you CFTOs just has its own completely proprietary system here that somehow is bypassing what we're seeing here. Dialogue topic. Yeah, okay. So these are all entirely custom. Maybe it's making a change to the quest. That could be. The fishing, well, it's got its own proprietary quest. Fast travel quest that I... Oh, you know what it is? It's, the NPCs are swapped. This guy is not... Yeah, he's the base NPC. Okay, well... how can we test this then? I can do... I might be able to place the real one. Bjorlum. Player.place at me. Actually, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to disable this guy. Say player.place at me. The OG Bjorlum. He might actually try and sandbox to this anyway. I didn't mean to place you quite so literally inside the thing. Requiem doesn't play well with VR. Why is that?
What's the hurry? Need a ride?
Nope, that's not gonna work because he's just straight up disconnected from everything. Well, what we can potentially do is okay. Plan B. Let me see here. Hold on. Real-time waiting. No, sorry. Touring carriages. Dialogue topic. If ever anyone asks you why it's difficult to add mods to a mod pack, here's your answer. Usually, this is a particular scenario. It's usually not quite like this, but can be. No ESLs is a big, big deal. Yes, barring what Halgari said, some of which I know. It's like this, I know that VR is this, like, under-considered version of Skyrim, unfortunately. It does seem to have its own kind of dedicated fan base, right? It would be cool. And I've always wanted to try Librum specifically in VR, right? I just want to try Librum in general. But if ever maybe we were going to attempt it, perhaps we could ask Oppo and team for just any tips that they have. Okay, so this is touring carriages. I might be able to get away with this if I can find an NPC who is, like, not replaced, but I don't know, it might replace all of them. Okay, so let's try this. What do we have conditions on these? scripts. Oh. Okay. Yeah, is ref. That's, I think these aliases are gonna be, well, actually, okay, maybe. Let's see here. Touring carriages. Does it have an MCM? Does it not? Is that a global that is on? Tour cart on 3. Okay. So if it's 3 by default, unless something changed it, help. Tour cart on. It is 3, so we are supposed to be seeing it. This is a problem. Whoa, why is there so much grass right here? That's weird. It's not usually like that, right? Whoa, there's grass fucking everywhere. That's a little odd. Maybe it's touring carriages making changes to the landscape or something. Oh, you know what? I bet you that's exactly what it is, because it probably has to in order to not wonk out. Oh, look, spam. Do I ever play my mod list? Not often. By not often, I mean no. Not really, not lately. I've just been working too much on it. But I find that fun. I wish I had more time to work on it, to be honest with you. Whoa. That was weird. I happened to put my mouse next to the Windows arrow thingy right at the same time that I clapped. That was a weird coincidence. This fucking spam. I may not be Tinder hot. Do wish you all well. Get on out of here. Okay, so this is tricky. I'm actually... I don't really... no. I guess I could just, make a patch that prevents those NPCs from being... I don't know if that's going to be enough, though. All I wanted to do was check this simple thingy. World space. I need Bjorlum carrot. Yeah, here we go. Here's what I could do. Maybe I'll just do it for 1. We're gonna... But this might not work. In fact, I'd almost bet more money that it won't. Cart patch. We're gonna see for just this guy. And then where is, I mean, it actually doesn't matter if, the other one spawns. Okay, so we're gonna try that. And then we're gonna have to make a new game. This is a very basic attempt at a fix. But, you know, we'll see. Close U. Close X edit. Question, is this game worth getting? Oh, who can say? Okay, turn this on and start a new game. Hopefully that quest alias will be filled okay, properly. I think it's worth getting. Well, to be honest, I think it really depends on what games you play. If the question is vanilla Skyrim, I'd say yeah. I mean, if only because it's such a resource to have for all the various mods and stuff, but Skyrim, like vanilla Skyrim, to me is not something. It's not an experience that I'd recommend it to certain people if they like haven't played a lot of RPGs. If they are interested in, you know, experiencing a very magical, the classic Bethesda style RPG. I think it's easy for people who have played a lot of these games to forget what it's like to experience like a Bethesda RPG for the first time. I think if you've never done that, you can't go wrong. I think that it's going to be magical no matter what, which really is a testament to kind of these games, and I think that it's something that's worth remembering. But if you're a big RPG veteran, then I think there's going to be a lot that you might be unimpressed with. Thank you, Rob. I mean, if the question is Wildlander specifically, then, you know, your mileage may vary, but I think it's worth playing. New game. And we are going to skip all the nonsense. We're going to wait for it to load. And I can talk about some of the other stuff in the meantime. So, the one I remember was relationships, right? I wish I could Alt-Tab and have this continue running. Not currently. I don't have that setting enabled. But I can talk about it. So, a big initiative that we're working on, is deepening the both individual relationships that you can have with NPCs. And by relationship, I don't just mean like romantic relationship. I mean like the disposition between individual NPCs and the player. And that includes giving you more meaningful interactions with them, right? More things to do with them. So that's a big thing. And also factions, right? So you have mods like Skyrim Reputation. Here, now I can do it. Let's go ahead and see what is sorted under the factions and relationships filter. So what do we got? This is not comprehensive, but you know, you got stuff like compliments and insults, give gifts to NPCs, favor jobs disposition. These ones are pretty self-explanatory. Favor jobs disposition is like, here you go. This is there like a newer version of this? Oh yeah, wait, this is the one that's declined because it's, yeah, favor jobs overhaul, sorry, is what I was thinking of. Favor jobs overhaul, that's the little ebony mace one. Where is it at? Is it not on here? Maybe because it's already added. And well, whatever. We'll search for it. Favor jobs overhaul. Don't mind a good story game as well. Well, if you played The Witcher and Red Dead 2, I'll be honest, I don't think that the story of Skyrim is going to drive you up the wall. That's a bad thing. I don't think it's going to impress you tremendously. So this is more just like a change. It's almost more of an economic change, but you can kind of work for various NPCs. More like jobs than relationships, right? But still cool. And oopsie. At a zoomed out view, the idea is to bring, factional gameplay back to the game. So you have individual like town factions, right? So we're adding a lot to that through mods like Reputation. That's more of a flavor thing. There are our Missives expansion that Lizzie's working on has a lot of, it doesn't affect your relationships off the top like in the baseline implementation, but we're basically building it as a framework to be able to do that like in the future. So like as you do kind of various stuff for people, it'll affect your disposition with them. And with like the town at large, right? You have mods like Faction Warfare, which is also parallel to what one of our team members is working on, which is kind of like a bandit overhaul that makes the bandits not just, bloodthirsty idiots, but I mean, they still are bloodthirsty idiots, I think, in a lot of cases, but they're not inhuman in the sense that you can only ever just fight them. You can actually like interact with them, is something that Jay is working on. This is a similar mod where you see dynamic warfare in Skyrim. Factions wage war with one another. You can choose to lead them all. Imperial, Stormcloaks, Folk, Bandits, Warlocks, College, Dawnguard, Vampires, Thalmor, Orcs, Dwemer, Falmer, Giants, etc. Not saying we're implementing this as is, but it kind of gives you the idea of like what we're looking at. Organic factions, right, where you have actual organic factions that move around the world and do various things that grow, shrink, interact with each other. You have role-playing tools like Predator, the RP and werewolf thing, that makes it kind of brings a Vampire the Masquerade style, like, don't reveal you're a fucking vampire to the towns and things of that nature. Seasons of Skyrim, most definitely. There's a whole thingy, a whole label that's dedicated to seasons. Supports seasons. one on its happy little shrubs, but that's just because there's not been many suggested. But seasons are getting a whole ass thing where it's like seasons will affect the economy. They'll affect what's up. We actually, Lizzie's already way ahead of you on this one, but we've been building out the, I mean, it's a framework that we're going to be able to build whatever, but we have a subtask assigned for missives where, you know, you'll get specific kinds of jobs more frequently or less frequently, or the things they'll ask you for will be different depending on, you know, what the season is. You can get paid more. I mean, this is automatic because of the way that she built it. But, you know, the price of goods will go up or down based on whether or not they're common or like in season versus out of season. All kinds of stuff like that. Yeah, so for factions, you know, we want you to be able to build, like, deepen your connection with the location by getting locational, factional relationships, deepen your connection with various factions themselves by interacting with them, by doing various activities with them, by just, you know, having the individual NPC interactions, right? Think basically like The Sims, where you can, you know, get the contextual menu and talk to them. I want to... at a baseline, create a system for probably an SBID based system. I think is the easiest implementation. Or actually, I don't use SBID myself in the sense that, like, SBID is a brilliant framework for patching because it doesn't require you to edit things like form lists. I like actually maintaining things like form lists because then I can keep track of what's what. So SBID is a wonderful framework that I basically just use as a reference to, like, codify everything. But basically giving NPCs specific likes and dislikes, right? So you can gift them things that they like and kind of learn what they like and dislike, and you can gift them stuff that they don't like if you want to be an asshole. Or you can, you know, just do stuff of that nature. Like, you can very, not easily I will say, but like simply design a Sims style interaction system with, you know, jokes or certain conversation topics, and kind of just individualize these NPCs based on their existing personalities already, right? Just really create, yeah, I mean, basically exactly what Rob, oh, I can see Rob's comment earlier and you guys can. The living world, right? That's why this here, there's, I call it, I think the filter is, dynamic world, AI and dynamic world. There's a lot of stuff here where, you know, it's very closely related to like factions, but, you know, you have NPCs doing all kinds of stuff across the world, doing stuff that they want to do irrespective of the player. Civil war stuff, of course, because there's a war going on. Accumulating and melting snow would be a neat effect. You're venturing into horse balls territory. Oh, you gotta have horse balls. But I mean, so Seasons of Skyrim, this is, I wouldn't be offering to do this if it didn't already exist, like in some way, shape, or form, or like, you know, it's quite the task, but it does. Seasons of Skyrim is its own thing. I believe it's PO3. It is Power of 3, the legend. So many modders have been working on, you know, supporting Seasons of Skyrim. Mostly, I would say that the mods that use Seasons of Skyrim as a framework are visual. It's mostly stuff like, hey, I'll take my, you know, texture mods, model mods, and create variants of them that reflect each season, which is super cool. I want to take it deeper than that. You know, like, which is not, again, they would need to do that. I mean, what I mean to say is, on top of that really, really cool visual stuff, I would like to add, like, you know, mechanical stuff where, you know, you have certain, again, like certain types of goods are more or less available, or like in the winter, you know, the crops, there's no crops the way that there is in summer, winter, even fall. You have stuff like animal behavior changes, and you see far less animals out and about, like in fucking winter, and just stuff of that nature, right? Or like, obviously the temperature is a big consideration in Wildlander, so that would change as well. And you get the idea. Or at least I hope you do. But yeah, so that's factions. There's, I mean, the factional relations, I would argue, is probably the biggest overarching focus of Wildlander, at least where we are right now in terms of development. Here we go. Mod configuration, custom game. Main. Actually, just to make sure that we don't get a borked start, I'm gonna load one of these presets. We're gonna be in the Inn of Morthal. Let's go. Oh, cool. Thank you, Monique.
Kick off your boots, stay a while. Let me know if there's anything I can help you with. I got nothing but time these days.
That's funny, Cody. I can't remember if we fixed that or not. Lizzie might remember better than me. Oh, here, let's give it a second. Okay, now, if this doesn't work, then it is what it is. I'll try and test it. I really thought it would be fun to test on stream. But, unfortunately, hasn't been reported, so it wouldn't be fixed. There you go. Actually, I swear I remember something like that. Maybe I'm wrong, though. If I go on Jira and search horse. Whiterun, exterior. So there should be, I think, two. We're going to have two carriage drivers there. Falmer random encounter. Scary. Yep. Check it out. Look, it's the Bjorlums. Oh, no wonder the carriage guards haven't been here. What a bummer. Okay, well now I know how to fix this. Lizzie, can you do me a big favor? Can you log an issue for the carriage guards from inconsequential NPCs being tied to the standard NPCs as like a parent marker? So they're not spawning because we swapped the NPC to the CFTO version. You. Get out of here. Bjorlum.
Need a ride?
Nope, shit. I didn't think that was going to be enough.
Oh, the rest you can find.
Okay, well, there is a way that we can test this really fast. It's just slightly more annoying. Okay, quit. We're going to go into Mod Organizer. We're going to back up our situation here. And then we are gonna get rid of, well, Requiem, first of all, because we're gonna get rid of Wildlander flags. All you disable. You get on out of here. Okay, so we're good there. We've disabled Requiem. We've disabled Wildlander. The reason we got to do that is because, thank you, Lizzie. The reason you got to do that is because Wildlander is dependent on CFTO, and we got to be able to disable CFTO here. We're actually going to disable it from the script perspective. Here, we're going to go you off this, that, and I think we're good. That should work. Cart patch, don't need anymore. And okay, let's check where our override is sitting, because if I accidentally get some shit in there that I don't want, I'm not going to be happy. That's fine. You're all fine. SKSE plugins, that's okay. Alright, we're good. Get rid of you. Again. Not yet, Rob, but that's the next big thing that we're working on is a public, not public, sorry, or is a sort of, is a customization resources or customization pipeline, which is, I mean, it's not quite the same thing, but basically up until now, and you might already know this, and I apologize if so, up until now, we have had customization and like modifying the list, at least of course within our own official community branches that we can control. We have not allowed that because we've been working very hard on getting Wildlander stable, and we need to know that user issues are not caused by modifications that they've made. So that's been kind of on lockdown. Now that we've kind of achieved that level of stability, we are opening the customization pipeline back up. That means that users will be able to use our official resources if they like to help them patch their Wildlander games for whatever mods they feel like adding. Many of these, I'm sure, will be things that we ourselves would like to add, and hopefully they will be kind enough to share those with us. And at that point, the prospect of nightly build, not nightly literally, but the pace of development and the pace of, you know, new builds obviously quickens at that point, because we have more people contributing to the development than just us. Yes, that's true, Liam. You still can. They'll just go, what? Or we'll change the bot command, so be like, yep, go for it. Here's the resources. Doesn't have the same effect, though, I imagine. So I hope that I haven't forgotten anything for creating a new game with Wildlander yeeted. Who knows what the world would be like with 2 Bjorlums? I don't think we can take it as a society. Okay. So we're going to wait a second just to give these various random things a second to fire off. Go off, mods. Fun fact, all the stuff that you're seeing here still does happen in Wildlander, but it's hidden. It's secret. You can't see it happening. So yeah, to recap, this is a heavy Q&A stream, so if you've got areas of the game that you're wondering how we're going to expand it, or if we have any plans, feel free to hit me with it. Thus far, I won't repeat what we've said on the economy. We've talked about factions and relationships. We've talked about currency and the currency exchange. We've talked about, what else? What am I thinking of or missing? Injury system, that was one of them. Anything else? Thank you, Wash. Also, thank you, Kilted Frog. I worked very hard on, I think presentation is important, especially in those first moments, but also just in general. So the mods are, it's taking longer here because they're already loaded by now, I promise you, but the messages take a little while to catch up. I'm being safe with it. Skyrim Unbound. I am going to not load a preset just in case, but I am going to change my starting location to the Morthal Inn. Evidently it's my favorite. It's not really, it's easy, it's got no NPCs in it practically. Loads fast. Let's go. Tameable animals. That's a good question. Oh wait, let's see. Oh, thank you so much, Cross. Any overhaul to other realms? Okay, so other realms, we've got tameable animals is a question. Short answer, yes. Alex, there will be. Yeah, because it already is a copy pasta. All right, let's keep going here. All right, so the two. What do we got? So overhaul to other realms. That's an interesting question because it's like, do you mean like visually? Like retextures? In which case, sure. I believe there's like a new one for the Soul Cairn. I don't have any current plans to. I mean, the thing is that the Oblivion Realms and the Soul Cairn, they're basically dungeons, right? Like the Soul Cairn is like a slightly wider little mini dungeon world space, and the Realms of Oblivion are more or less the same thing. So if you're talking about those kind of like vanilla implementations of those particular things, then, you know, I don't really have any plans to it. There's like a couple things for the Soul Cairn that aren't in there yet. There's like a little mini player home that we were going to add. And then I think a couple of like, I don't know, like little content additions perhaps. But other than that, not really that I can think of. The other stuff, it like there are not cemented, you know, plans for like content mods. Like I always have to evaluate those, but I would be more interested as far as like other world spaces and things like that, like adding different locations that, you know, can kind of hook into a wider system of mechanics, right? You have access to a lot of the realms in the world of Elder Scrolls, any new ones. Oh, okay. Well, so that's like new content. That's basically what I'm talking about, right? So if there are mods that kind of add these types of locations to visit and there's stuff going on there, then we're always happy to evaluate those. I have really kind of particular standards when it comes to stuff like that, because it's very hard to make a mod of that scale that covers all the various things it would need to, and also, you know, create this seamless presentation and consistency that we aim for. But there's a lot of them on the suggestions board. If you want to see what's been suggested already, you can go to the Trello board, and if you go here, I'll show you. And again, there's going to be a more detailed set of instructions for helping you guys navigate the Trello on the roadmap page on the website. But the quick thing you can do is use colors to navigate the labels. You can just kind of like, oh, whoops. You can go to select labels and scroll, but it's not great. So you have like yellow, right? We'll show you all the, those are game mechanics. Orange will give you like UX interface and controls. So the one you want is lime, which that one's, I'm probably going to try and change it. Unfortunately, we have enough categories to where like, we have to use some of the weirdly titled colors, but again, you'll have instructions on how to do this stuff. But go here, click the new quests one. That'll show you a lot of like the content mods that have been suggested. You can see a lot of them are in this category of needs further assessment. You can also try purple and get new lands and world spaces. There's a lot of overlap between those. Well, also this label is selected, so literally overlap, but you can see quite a few of them here, right? Oh, I'm sorry, Liam. There's, at least you can type the words in. Also, thank you, Rob. How extensively did I customize the EMB? Somewhat, not tremendously. Like, if you're talking about like, let's imagine here's the breadth of all the different things that can be customized about an ENB, then very, very little. We have changed, I've gone through and just changed various things like saturation. I've desaturated it a little bit. We've tried to mess with some of the Night Eye settings. Lizzie's been working on that actually on the side. Liam, it's in needs further assessment. The you know, there's some other stuff, but not really. It's mostly, it's almost stock Rudy EMB for Cathedral Weather's Zangdar's edit in particular. Yeah, Night Eye. I actually had an idea for helping Night Eye the other day. For those of you guys who don't know, Night Eye is a huge problem for ENBs. I would go so far as to say that it kind of sucks in vanilla as well, even though, like, vanilla, the way that Night Eye works is you get, like, image space modifiers, which are kind of like, if any of you are familiar with film production, image space modifiers are like gels that you would put over a camera lens, almost like a filter, right? Except for an image space modifier you can brighten things too, which I don't know if there are any gels that do that. Maybe there are. There are well, it's like, you know, blood going on the screen is technically an image space modifier, right? It's just like anything that kind of gets applied to the player's vision versus kind of something that exists in the game world. You can use those to fuck with Night Eye when there's no ENB. ENB does not like image space modifiers a lot of the time, so certain types are they just don't work straight up. And this has always been a problem for Night Eye with ENB. We've attempted various fixes. Many other mod authors and ENB artists have attempted various fixes with kind of middling success. It's better now than it used to be, but it's still not great, and you still can't really see. So an idea that I had, and I've not tested this yet, and it's not a perfect solution, but I thought it might be interesting, is to, for people who aren't using ENB or shaders through the launcher, we'll just enable, we already have specific mods that get enabled if you don't use shaders, like the launcher auto detects it. In that case, you will, I'm thinking of adding to those mods, like, you know, better image space modifiers for people who do use ENB. I'm wondering if I can't do the same thing and have a specific mod enable, and what it would do is whenever you use Night Eye, you would get an ENB light that is invisible to the player. So like here, does Candlelight use an ENB light right now? I can't remember. Performance mod list doesn't have ENB light enabled. That makes sense to me, Lizzie. Oh, I can see how it would be a problem with this, though. It doesn't work at all if you were using shaders. Ah, I understand. Okay, well, I can fix that. Or, you know, what would make sense to you there, then, is we'll talk to Matt about having those specifically tied to the shaders drop down instead. But anyway, for those of you who don't know, ENB lights, right? ENB lights are a special way of generating light that do not, they're outside the game engine. They are entirely ENB shaders based. Shaders is the wrong word to use technically, but it exists only within the post-processing that ENB provides, right? I'll show you a quick example of that. Let's go to my favorite, Veterans Retreat. This is an easy area to do this. Yeah, it's fun, Rob, for sure. Problem solving is the most fun part of this job. Oh, here. BAT. We're going to set game hour to 0. And we're going to make ourselves in God mode. Ooh, look at that. Aurora. That's okay. It'll be fine. Do I have flame sparks? No, I don't. BAT add stuff. That'll give it to me. So you can see lights being casted from these flames, right? If I turn off the shaders, the flames are still there, but the light sources do not exist. That's an ENB light. ENB lights are, again, they're generated, oh, they're not there in first person, unfortunately. I think there's a fix for that. I can't remember. But, they're not detected by the game world in any way. They do not register with the game's detection, which is actually based on light sources and shadow. So I was like, hey, what if I have an ENB light that essentially floats above the player's head and is very powerful and lights up, you know, a good distance around the player when they have Night Eye enabled and they're using ENB shaders. And you would be able to see, sorry, excuse me, but the game would not, it would look as though you're very brightly lit if you look in third person, which is kind of weird, but the game wouldn't think you were, like, for detection, which is important. But I just can't really think of a good way to do it otherwise. Everything else is just kind of a middling fix at best. Well, I think it would work in first person, Lizzie. There's ways to get, I think the lantern still works in first person. You just have to, like, patch it. Or I think, yeah, Kilted Frog said it. And there are, like, I think, doesn't the, I thought the torches do. I could be wrong. Let's see. But they're just regular lights, too. I can't remember if we added ENB lights to it. I think there's a way to get it working, but I don't know. I'm pretty sure, though. Yeah, so that's the idea there. Set game hour to, I don't know, 10. And white run exterior. Okay, let's see. Try and take one of these fucking carriages. And then there would be a... We can talk about the controls a little bit. There'd be a light point above the head. So again, there, if you're thinking like candlelight, sorry, I can see chat over here on YouTube faster than you guys can see it. It wouldn't be like candlelight where there's a visible, like here. Oops, you can't just type in candlelight, huh? Spell, play that, add spell. Candlelight. So, you know how when you cast Candlelight and it creates this thing, right? This little particle effect, whatever it is. Yeah, I'll talk about the controls in the HUD after this. Thank you, Rollo. So that wouldn't be there. And also this kind of fuzzy light that's happening here would also not be there. What would be there is the light, like you would be able to see, but there would be nothing like that. So it doesn't really matter if we put it above the character's head or like where the camera is, because it's not gonna like obscure your vision in any way. It'll just light things up, if that makes sense. Also, now I have this annoying candlelight. That's okay.
Need a ride?
Bjorlum.
Where do you want to go?
Windhelm.
Sit back and enjoy the ride.
Is it still not working? What the fuck? Oh, can you? I actually never use candlelight. Oh, no, there it goes. Okay, whew. Alright, so we're going to test this. Now, first of all, I should preface this. For those of you who do not know this, there's a deep history of carriage ride mods like this. The whole kind of like scenic carriages type situation is something people have wanted to do for a very, very long time. Very early on in Skyrim modding's lifespan, they attempted. It has always been a very difficult thing to do, as I'm sure most of you know, because the carriages are wonky as shit. This new mod attempts to do it, and I'm pretty sure... Oh, it's making me kind of motion sick. I just turned off all those mods because I needed to test this. This is better than any of the ones that I've seen, and I think that's because this mod attempts to edit all of the roads to make them flatter anyway. So you're seeing something like this as an option. Now what I wanted to check, now that's all fine and good. I have to imagine it's still gonna wonk out every so often, but really what I want to test here is not the carriage. I want to test what happens if I do this, right? And I speed up time with that mod. So that's what we're gonna do right now. I want to see, is this gonna speed up the carriage? Not real names, real time waiting. Is it gonna speed up the rest of the world and not the carriage? Let's find out.
That's the honey brew meat.
Yep, that's what I thought was gonna happen.
Find Windhelm's full of dark elves. The kind from Morrowind.
Wow. Please look away if you're seizure sensitive. I apologize. Oh, my thirst is increasing. And we're good, right? Can I zoom out further? Alright. How does it deal with time and encounters? Yes. So this, well, so here's like the whole thing, right? Is if something like this worked, if I was able to, because I want to like be able to have the player auto route to a certain location, and you know, you speed up time to get there, same way you do in so many like simulation games. Oh, let's see how it handles this horse, or it's horse, wolf. What's up, buddy?
Look out! I think we have company.
Uh huh. So this is still pretty jank.
Watch out.
Got him. Oof. Brutal. Not bad. Again, smoother than it's been in the past, that's for sure. So, unfortunately, I mean, this was a predictable result, right? All right, now I'm gonna press the button again. So if you're photosensitive, please look away, and I'll tell you when it's safe to look back. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so it goes. Yeah, shut up. It goes buck wild. So now, okay, I can at least note an immediate problem. Wait, is it actually going any? Okay, hold on. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it again in 3, 2, 1.
Look out. I think we have company.
Oh, I think it broke. I don't think I can do it. Or maybe I can't do it in combat. Got him. I think that's what it is. I don't think I can do it in combat. Shush. Alright. 3, 2, 1. So it does look like the horse is moving a little faster. Okay, so we are, I think, going like a little bit fat. Like the horse is a teensy bit, but not as fast as you'd hope for like how much time is passing. Which we can adjust that, right? But the I mean, there's no solution, I think, for this carriage going buck wild. So probably, and this is, you know, in an ideal scenario, this is what I was hoping for. I explained this at the beginning of the stream, but I can cover it again. So because we're investing so much time and attention into the dynamic world, right? And because you will have even more factions and NPCs and various actors going about the world doing their own thing, I really wanted a real-time travel system so that the encounters that you are encountering are actually part of the game world, right? Like, they're not just simulated kind of, you know, we're going down a list of encounters to throw at you, maybe based on some conditions, and then having the classic CRPG style, you know. Have you guys, or many of you, I'm sure, have played Fallout, right? Yeah, so carriage guards I'll explain kind of like what I'm thinking of here. So this is okay. One other thing I'd actually like to add, there's like auto ride. Hold on, if I'm going on the Nexus. Auto Path Skyrim mod SC 2022. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's just called like Auto Move. That's the one, I believe. Oh, excuse me. So I wanted to try this out. Makes the player move to custom destination using AI pathfinding, right? Custom destination marker on map, which I love. We're going to install this right quick. Download. Oh yeah, anyone who had to look away for photo sensitivity reasons, we're back now. We're not doing crazy shit anymore. I wanted to have, you know, a system where you could travel in real time like this and speed it up, because that's what, you know, all these sim games, you need a way to speed up time. I thought it could be cool to do it in real time. Obviously, we have a way to speed up time, which is the wait menu, which we are also kind of expanding with different options of fun things that your character is doing in that time. But all of that stuff, oh, Skytrek SE, that's right. I knew there was another one as well. I'll take a look at that one. SE, Skyrim on autopilot. Okay, so if this one doesn't work, then we'll try the other one. Or sorry, if the other one doesn't work, we'll try this one. I wanted to have this type of real-time, you know, or speed up time, but you see the movement in real time, just so that we're not having to kind of simulate what should be happening in the world. It's actually what is happening in the world, just at a faster pace. That's the ideal implementation for me. But, you know, assuming that's not viable, at least not for something like this, like traveling. I'm curious to see if the auto move one will be possible. That one I think might actually be. Check this out. we'll see. And also, let's see how it works. How does excuse me. Place me with custom destination. Tap the vanilla auto move key. Toggle AI driven movement. And forward and back keys to switch between 4 speed levels. Cool. Setting B message box menu false, which we do anyway. So that's cool. Oh, and this even has like a combat check, exactly as I would hope for. All right, cool. So we're going to launch this. We'll see if this works. So we might be able to get like a combo of both approaches. But anyway, yeah, you have something like this, right? Where you can travel in real time, speed up time with this other mod that I'm using. And I thought that would be really rad. With carriages, that's not going to work. I didn't think it would. I thought it would be fun to test. It certainly was. Here we are. So if I couldn't get that kind of real-time version to work, the fallback was going to be, which I still think would be a massive improvement over the current fast travel system, just very standard RPG fast travel type stuff, right? You see this in Kingdom Come Deliverance is the most, I'm sure there's been more recent games that have used this, but it's the most recent one that I played. You see it in tons of classic games. Let's see, like Fallout fast travel footage video. That's what I'll search. No, not 76. I want like Fallout 1. Shit, I'm getting a bunch of, hold on. Fallout 1 travel gameplay? I don't know. Or even just like here, Fallout 1 let's play. We'll get there pretty quick. Here, we're gonna turn this on mute. Thank you to Grolvana. Credit goes to that YouTuber. So we're gonna skip ahead here. Fallout. This is what Fallout 1 looks like for anyone who's never seen it. It's very cool. This is Ron Perlman's got a great opening monologue here. I just don't want to get demonetized. Here's a cool little interface that these buttons, very skeuomorphic. This is what your Vault Overseer looks like. If you've never seen that. What a guy. And here's the isometric gameplay. And oh, this whole episode actually does not have what I need, so we're gonna skip to 2. Killing those rad scorpion. Is it rad scorpion? It's rats. Rats are out there. Great intro enemy. Here we go. Okay. So here's what travel looks like. Right? In Fallout. So you escape out the character goes to the world load zone. So here you have this little map interface, right? In fact, I'll make this full screen so you guys can kind of see. And here's your character, and you click where you want to go. Which, I'm sure we'll see. And when you do that, you have a chance to encounter stuff, right? Along the way. And that's kind of how a lot of these systems have been done. It's a great system in a lot of ways. It gives you a lot of much more stable control over the kind of stuff you encounter. You can really have a lot of fun with it. You can... you can code it to be any way you want. So we can have really fun conditions for... So, like, what I was planning to use as, like, a baseline for this, perhaps, was Tony Cubed of Sands of Time has, like, a fast travel encounters system, right? Let me see if I can show you guys what's going on here. Skip ahead. Oh, no, we're back in the vault. Just so you can see. Here we go. You click somewhere. Yeah, so you clicked that one as a destination. And now they got an encounter. And oh, they got the... what's it called? Maybe they have Wild Wasteland enabled, but they got the TARDIS encounter. So this is a great example of what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, oh yeah, the theme of... or just the vibe of Fallout 1 and 2 is just... ugh. So nice. What sort of options are you thinking, Rob, from Fallout 2? Oh, we talked a little bit about character creation. That was another thing we covered. But yeah, so you get like a little encounter, right? And with this, it's in a completely separate, cell, you might say. Obviously, that wouldn't be the case for us. But you could have fun with something like this with Skyrim. you could have, you know, based on what hold you're traveling in, you can have certain types of factions, you know, appear, like encounters, and maybe not all of them hostile. You can still have it plug into our wider, you know, framework of systems. It's a different type of built design. And there would be advantages too, like in addition to those kind of more granular controls, you could have I think that when you have kind of like a map based, or here, even like here's a better example. Kingdom Come Deliverance fast travel. Okay, credit to Stolly 111. So we're gonna skip ahead. Just for anyone who's not played Kingdom Come Deliverance, they have a very similar fast travel system that I think works very well. That's a map. Let's see here. This person, I guess, is probably analyzing the system, but are they going to show it in action? I don't think so. That's sure something. I mean, I'm listening to it mute, so I'm not getting any context. Dang. How does it work? Well, whatever. Take my... Oh, wait. Fast travel. Here you go. Perfect. So this is its fast travel system. It shows you moving along the map. Let's see if it gets any encounter. You see like a drain of your, you know, resources, like your energy, your hunger, or whatever it is. And maybe we're going to get an encounter here. Maybe not. But so that's the idea, right? And that's not bad at all. Because then also, I think what I was going to say is that, you know, Skyrim as a landmass, like a world space, is not tremendously big. So I think even if we had our way and we got it this first way with auto move or whatever in the carriage, that does kind of remind play. I think one of the reasons why Skyrim feels so sprawling to a lot of players when they play it for the first time is because they fast travel a lot, right? And when you fast travel, you don't have as much of you don't have a direct understanding of the spatial relationship between places. You're kind of just like popping into and out of these little pockets of existence. And in that case, your imagination kind of it can feel, you know, worlds apart, which is actually kind of cool. But, you know, it's just kind of, I think I can load that old save. It's a different way to approach it with different pros and cons. Ah, gotcha, Rob. Yes, that is something that we are trying very hard to do. Well, reactivity is something we're really, really trying to inject. Thank you, B King. Someone just burped also. There's so many sounds that I disable normally that are probably going ham. Okay, so let's go back to Whiterun Exterior 01. Yeah, and so I forgot to mention this part, I guess. In this system that I'm describing, right, the fast travel where you kind of have a map and encounters and whatever, the carriages would have a much easier kind of implementation, I think. What you would than what we have now, and like the implementation, excuse me, that we have now really leaves a lot to be desired. It's too expensive, and the reason it's so expensive is that it's supposed to offset how easy it makes it for you to travel between the holds. You could argue that it should be reasonably expensive because, you know, it's wartime, right, and the roads are dangerous. But it shouldn't, you know, there's not a strong sense currently of like what is a gold worth, what is a septim worth. It's kind of hard for, I think, people's suspension of disbelief to have, you know, 750 gold carriage rides. It's not crazy outside the realm of disbelief, but again, it's tricky when you don't have a strong sense of what that one gold is supposed to be worth, or like a world analog. And that is something I understand. I think it's something that we can, you know, really help. So anyway, you would have the carriages would be like a hireable service that would essentially act as a modifier for your fast traveling, right? Like maybe it means that you get less attacked because there's like carriage guards and whatever. Yo, what is up, Rin? Yo, how you doing? Rin is an old friend. Thank you so much for stopping by. But yeah, so that's basically... Yeah, fuck me. It has been 6 years, huh? Goddamn, everyone wave hi to Rin. She streams on Twitch, by the way. And I believe Rin Vixen as well, right? I believe that. Feel free to plug your Twitch. Yeah, so that's the basic idea. Like, you know, it's obviously a lot easier to do. And the fast travel system as it works now, like, it's supposed to kind of approximate distance, but it doesn't actually. The way that it works is the 3 tiers of pricing are actually based on what type of settlement it is. So, for example, oh, this is the wrong Bjorlum.
See ya.
Where's the other one? Oh, we have it turned off. Well, I guess we can't tell, but it's something like the small settlements are the lowest, and then like the cities are like the middle, and then, or maybe I have it backwards, but it's not actually based directly on distance. It's actually based on the size of the settlement. Like the remote settlements are supposed to be more expensive to get to, but the distance is not actually calculated, right? So it's not ideal. Anyway, that's all that. Were there any other Q&A mechanics that I have missed thus far? Yes. Sabercat surprise encounter. There would be, I mean, because we already have an encounter system vanilla in the game, right? So we can hook into that. We can make our own. Let me show you the Tony Cubed Sands of Time fast travel encounters non-Skyrim SE. Here we go. I think it recently got an update too. That's not what I'm looking for. I always do Nexus searches on a different screen because you never know what you're gonna get. Ouch. You guys hear that? My neck just cracked like crazy. Here we go. That's the one. What's wrong with touring carriages says the need to update a nav mesh after world space edits. Nothing's wrong with it, I would say. It's something you could even add in. It certainly isn't going to work with our speed up time. Oh, that was why. Oh my god, I forgot. That was why we were testing here originally. We can do custom destination. And then, what's my auto move key? Do I even have that mapped anymore? Gameplay. It might be delete, in which case if I hit it, it's going to do a bunch of scary stuff. Controls. Man, Rin, 6 years. That's crazy. That's like in my head. I've known Rin since basically I started doing YouTube stuff. We started doing YouTube stuff at around the same time. That's wild. That is absolutely nuts. Auto move is, yep, delete. So we're going to change that to here. Let's see what happens. Okay, that's rad. Auto move is auto pathing. And if I set up real-time waiting, other bracket, let's see what happens. Okay, that's right, there's an idle animation, so I kind of stop. I'm still moving, though. Now I'm moving grumpily. That's pretty funny. So I can't really tell. The problem is I don't know if I'm going to speed up, because I think I'm supposed to stop. I think it's trying to stop me when I do that, so I might continue moving when I do it. Oh, look. This must be touring carriages changes to the... Oh, look, that's a nav mesh issue right there. Or it's a patch issue. But it's still a nav mesh issue. Issue. Well, alright, cool. Oh, and just to be clear, so the guards then would not the carriage would not need to cost as much as it does now, because we'd have a much more sensible framework for like how it works, right? Running away from home angrily, exactly. Alright, cool. Well, I'm glad this works at the very least. This is super rad. For anyone, enemy detect. Wow, look at that. Ignore, fight. Super cool. Love it. Ah! Boom, baby. Gotcha. Alright. Now I can talk about, well, I'll leave this running just in case. I feel like sometimes I like doing that. Although the UI is extra fucked up. But, what was I going to say? Something about, oh yeah. So having not seen any of it when you code, do you endeavor to develop abstract frameworks in order to make things as administrative free as possible while providing the ability for future? Yes, that is exactly the goal. With all of our custom frameworks, well, it really, I mean, it's case to case, I would say. But if we are building a framework, a good example here would be Lizzie's expansion to the missives system, like the jobs board. At every stage of the design and the implementation, we have our foremost consideration is how can we build this in a way that makes it extensible so that in the future, if we want to use this is the perfect example framework because a missives board is essentially a method to telegraph anything you want. The quests are obviously a big part of it, but a good example would be we have, I think I mentioned this earlier, but we have subtasks now for using the missives as a framework to both notify the player of additional mod added content that might feel a little bit disparate otherwise, right? And also to make that disparate content feel more contiguous within the game world. An example of this would be like I can quit out of here now. I think it'll be fine. If I need to reopen it, I'll just do that when we talk about the controls. There's an example of a suggested mod that I think is really cool called, Willybox Apothic Guild. It adds this really neat little like alchemy guild outside of Riverwood, right? And it's really cool looking and just like, it's pretty out there, but I really do like it a lot. And just looks like this from the outside. It's certainly eccentric enough to where if this thing was, practically within the town of Riverwood, you would expect people to be commenting on it and referencing it, right? Now, we still can't really, we probably could do that through dialogue splicing. I'm not a big fan of pure XVA synth. If I was going to have people comment on it, which would be the real cool way to also integrate it, I would ask Jay Serpa for advice on splicing NPC lines because he's just the fucking legend when it comes to that stuff. It's amazing to me the lines that Jay is able to create and have it sound just completely seamless, like with vanilla. But apart from dialogue, we wanted to have the missives board serve as not just a quest board, but also as what it would serve as if it were real, which is a community board where people post about all kinds of stuff. Think about like Animal Crossing or something, right? It's not just quests and things that, or it's not even, I don't like, forget the word quest. It's not just jobs and like things that people need done. That's a big part of it. But also it's just goings on for the townsfolk. You have flavor text about the latest weirdo gossip, or you have the equivalent of like your neighbor who's constantly complaining about one thing or another, posting their latest notice board about how someone needs to mow their lawn or something. Or in the case like this, we can have notices specifically related to this alchemist guild, where it's like, whatever the alchemist guild looking for members, we're in the hovel outside of or south of town, like blah 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 blah. So you get the idea. And that is an example of a system that we built specifically to since Lizzie started building the system, we've come up with so many different ideas of what we could use the system for. And because we built it in that extensible way, we have a means to implement them in a way that doesn't create a headache. That is generally, I think that's more or less just, if you're building a framework, you try to keep stuff like that in mind. Of course, I'm sure that there will be times that we design a system in a way that we later go, oh, gee, I wish that we, had it, or we had built it this way, right? I'm sure that's unavoidable to a degree, but we do our best, and we certainly think about it. We try to design well. I think good design, you obviously can't spend too much. Yeah, so like limitless possibilities can feed analysis paralysis is actually basically what I was going to say. You can't spend too much time analyzing or designing, but I think a good initial design is basically equivalent to the old expression measure twice, cut once, right? So it's pretty cool. I don't know, I'm excited about it. Anyway, so I mean, we're coming up on the end of the stream here. I would like to talk a little bit about some of the controls stuff. I don't want to overpromise here. Also, Khajiit Caravan is a great example of something you can put on the missives board, that is. So I want to overpromise here. Everything I'm about to say is, excuse me, should take it with a grain of salt, but, now I know why I need the game on. Here, I'll restore these and we'll just launch. I've been working really hard on the controls. Y'all know this. The controls are very deeply tied with the HUD, and I'm pretty excited about where I believe we're going to be able to go with the controls. I'll bring up my my little mock-up has not changed much since the last time you guys saw it. Last time we were talking a lot about how to represent like the needs meters and stuff like that. I think I've got a pretty good way to do that. That's a lot more intuitive than what we had been messing with before. I think this is the most recent one. So we'll just open this up for reference for anyone who hasn't seen it. This is a very basic kind of like early version, right, of the kind of HUD. Actually, let's put this over here. I think it's going to be on this side. Just pretend it also has, here, we'll give it like a little bar. Here's my rectangle key. I'm going to go here. And we're going to make that white. Perfect. So just pretend, there's your active effects meter. Here, pretend that's an active effect so you can get more of an idea of what's going on. So yeah, no one thinks we're Molyneux. I shouldn't say poor Peter Molyneux. The question to me is, how much did Peter Molyneux believe the things that he said would be in the games? That's always what it is for me. I think there is something to be said about not overpromising, being careful of the fact that even though you do believe you're going to be able to do it, there's a good chance that you won't be able to. But, whatever. It is what it is. Anyway, I've been working on this design like quite a lot. Just looking at the various options that we have out there for controls. You know that I've been building it around some of the mechanisms possible with Eldon Equip is like a very fundamental part of like the cyclers, because it's actually really smooth for like the first time we have like smooth cyclers, which I should, how do I even put this? So since then, I've really been thinking a lot about just what the needs are of each control scheme, and by each control scheme I mean gamepad and keyboard. And is there a way to basically, one, make it all accessible, so all of these elements should meet every accessibility threshold there is. So contrast, colors, visual intuitiveness is maybe something you could file under accessibility, but it's also just kind of good design for a HUD, right? You want to, at a glance, be able to understand like what stuff is. So that would include things like telegraphing, some of the buttons. So that's like, big one is the accessibility. Two, let's keep players out of the menus. Let's keep players out of the menus as much as possible. Or at the very least, if we're going to put them in menus, they should be menus that are intuitive, again, and quick to navigate. Something that you can do, fast, that you can have a lot of different options as to what you're going to select and just kind of get to what you need quickly and then get back out. That's a big one. I want you can almost say that like the biggest, beyond like accessibility, the biggest goal of this HUD and control scheme is to let players have a bunch of different ways to manage their, because Skyrim's got 1,000,001 different abilities. You've got weapons, you've got spells, you've got potions, you've got powers, you've got so many different things that, you need to juggle as a player, especially as your save gets further along and you have so many more options available to you for your character, which is what you want to happen. You want the complexity to increase as you go, and it's more fun. So with all this in mind, right, it's like, what do we do? I think, and here's the biggest, like, I cannot promise this because this is the biggest, like, this has never been done before. I think it can be done, but we cannot guarantee it at all because I don't have a functioning version of this yet, but I'm pretty sure that I can do it. I want to create, and sorry, really fast. 3 is, how do I make a control scheme where you have parity between the keyboard, and I mentioned this because it's related to what I was about to say. Parity between the keyboard and the gamepad in terms of like features, right? Like the keyboard has so many more buttons than the gamepad, so it's always been like the gamepad is kind of the clunkier way, or you can still get to your powers and your items or whatever, but it's not quick, it's not as intuitive, or it takes a little bit longer or whatever. So how do you get it all working together seamlessly, and where features that apply to one also apply to the other, and they both get to benefit, right? And you can use them exclusively, like you can use only the gamepad if you want, or only the keyboard. You can use them together. What I think I'm going to be able to do, and this is something I've wanted for Skyrim since fucking forever, I think I can do a hotbar. I think I can take what the foundation that Elden Equip has established with Vorgänger's work, and honestly, if I can't even get it on my own, I'm just going to ask him to, or maybe he'd want to publish it as a mod. I don't know. I haven't even talked with him about it. But I think we can get a hotbar. I think that we can get easy wheel menu is going to be a part of this, Kilted Frog, but I want to take it way further than that. We can use these as an example. You come over here. I'm going to rotate it. I don't know how many of these, let's say 8. Well, that's how many we need. I was going to say, I don't know how many we can fit. I feel like I have no screen real estate here, but that's okay. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4. Take all you. Let's make those. That's actually not bad with the current scale. We are going to put you, actually here, y'all come up. No, I don't want to duplicate you. Come up here. Put you here. This is me just throwing this together, right, in like 2 seconds. So, don't consider this to be like final by any means or whatever. Just a visual demonstration, kind of like what I'm hoping for. It's a little bit too, well, actually we'll see. Okay, all of you guys are going to, it's a line, and then let's distribute. Boom. So there we go. Let's call that a hotbar, right? Let's group you up. Let's, oopsie, align you to the, oh, it already is aligned. Cool. Yeah, that's always the problem, right, Rob, is like how, but we learn more and more all the time, like how to, improve it, whatever. So this is just completely bullshit right here, but this is kind of the basic idea, right? And that's way too big, I think, is fair to say. In fact, we'll make it like a little smaller. Well, I'm gonna keep you guys, I'm gonna ungroup this, take you, make a copy, because I want to keep them that scale, and then, I might actually have a copy already. But just in case, or maybe I just won't save this because I can make it again. Make this smaller. Lower it all. So I've wanted a hotbar in Skyrim for a very long time, right? And the reason that I want that, it's still too big, but whatever, is because The keyboard has, let's say, I think it's only 8. Can you use 9 and 0 for hotkeys? If you can, I'm going to have to make that 10. I actually cannot remember. I guess we'll find out in 2 seconds. Whatever it is. I've wanted a hotbar for a very, very long time, and the reason for that is that a hotbar is an extremely precedented... Yo, thank you for 4 months. Bryze. 1 through 8? Okay, perfect. There you go. A hotbar is an extremely precedented control, or HUD and controls thing, for PC games especially. We're talking for forever. Like, you can go back a long, long time, 30 years, and you have a hotbar, right? For, like, Deus Ex hotbar. The reason for this is that while the hotkeys are great, you don't remember easily what's assigned, especially if you're changing it a bunch. Like, you want the hotbars to be flexible. You want to probably, you have staples, like you put certain things in the same spot every time. But in a game like Skyrim, where you're constantly swapping things in and out, or maybe changing up the way you play, like, whenever I would play with the hotbars, even though I play mouse and keyboard, one of the biggest reasons I don't play spellcasters historically is because I cannot remember, like, what's set where, and I just hate spending all my time in the... What? Oh, this is the old save. Oops. Whatever, that's fine. I just can't remember what I put where. And yeah, you can check the favorites, but, you know, it takes up time. So I've always wanted a way to just visually have a hotbar so I can see what's assigned where, right? And just know what's up. So I was like, we gotta have a fucking hotbar. It's 2022. Where's my Skyrim hotbar? I think we can do it with how Elden Equip works. I think that we can create a hotbar. You even already have, like, the precedent with, let's see, maybe this one? That's okay, I think. You can, with Elden Equip, I don't have it turned on right there, but, like, there's already functionality for if you hold a certain button, items that are on your 1 through 4 hotbar appear as, like, your pouch. So I feel like it's really just a hop, skip, and a jump away. So you have a hotbar, you can see what your hotkeys are that are assigned. And it's like, okay, that plus these cyclers, I'm like, you have a lot of access to various options and hotkeys and whatever right there off the bat. I think that's a game changer. Good question. How will the hotbar be accessed? That's literally what I was going to say next. It's like, what you want, the gamepad has only ever been able... You guys ever used the gamepad in Skyrim? Like, you have these little... I actually don't know if this is going to work, because I might have the buttons assigned elsewhere, but let's try. Sure, you and you. That's all we need. I have them assigned elsewise, so this doesn't work. But normally, the default control scheme for gamepad for Skyrim, you get 2 hotkeys. You can go left on the D-pad or right on the D-pad. And you get 1 and 2, and that's what you get. Let's let the gamepad access the hotbar. So the way that we do this, we were already, you know that I've been working on the gamepad control scheme through Steam. It's like Steam's very powerful configurator, right? With Steam, I've been messing around with, like, all these crazy control things. You can add... I need to... Hold on, I think I need big picture mode enabled to do this. Big picture. Bloop. Alright, then we'll go into Sky. I might actually have to restart it. I'm not sure if it'll work. Will it? If I hit the middle one? No, it will not. Well, okay. We don't need to restart it completely. We can just do this. It's a little bit more cumbersome. Library. Let's go... No, not you. Actually, you know what? It is going to be easier to restart. Fine. You win, Steam. So Steam has a very powerful in-game controller configurator. It is the cornerstone of the gamepad control redesign, and I guess now the whole controls redesign to begin with. So what this is going to do is allow us with a very simple, like, modifier button. I think I can honestly do everything that I want to do with the gamepad with a single modifier button, and I'm thinking that it's going to be left bumper, and I'm going to move sprint to, like, a click toggle, like it's Call of Duty. It's not ideal. You have to... if you do that, you're breaking with expected kind of behavior, which is never fun. But I think people will get used to it fairly easily because sprint is already there in a lot of other games, and the additional functionality will be worth whatever the learning curve is. So left bumper is very likely going to be the modifier. When you hold left bumper, I'm probably going to be able to slow down time the way that I can with the favorites menu, which is what I'm going to do because I'm also going to be adding back Skyrim souls very likely, and many of the other menus are probably going to be unfrozen. But maybe with it, think of how Mass Effect goes. You like open up your powers menu and it goes, right? That's basically what's going to happen. So you have this hotbar. You can, with the modifier button, just let gamepad users access it the same exact way that the keyboard people can. You just hold left bumper. I'm thinking what? The 4 these and the 4 face buttons. There you go. You can set them too. You can be in your favorites. You can set them to whatever you want, same as the keyboard users can. Alongside that, you also will get these really dope radial menus because you can create radial menus with the Steam controller interface. I'll show you. I think I still have one set up. Let's see. Controller configuration. This was just me experimenting, right? Here, there's like some bullshit like setup. So if here's my little nonsense radial menu. The way, actually here, let's do it this way. I think I have, what did I do? No. Hold on. I'm gonna go in here, set U, joystick move, left bumper radial menu. No. This is actually going to be no, it's fine. Here. What's the, radial menu, and then how do I, yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Hold up. Wait a minute. We are gonna have binding left bumper, that's fine. I'm gonna get rid of this regular press, remove activator, and this is now going to apply hold action layer. We're gonna do this one. So you can see this is pretty crazy, right? I won't bother to explain everything that's going on here. Just trust that I've been messing with this stuff, and that's why it is the way it is. So ignore that thing in the middle that's showing the different thingy, right? So the way that these like radial menus work, I mean, it's basically the same thing I was showing you before, but it's fucking, you can just very easily like have stuff here. Now I'm like opening this menu up by clicking. Honestly, I'm probably gonna make it so that it's less intense even. Like you can just do this, radial menu, go menu activation style, touch release, and also we're gonna go to this, we're already in there. I can't remember where the option is to like manage action set. Maybe that's what it is. Yeah. Switch your cursor. No. Here, manage action set. Okay. Hold action there. That's all correct. And we're gonna change this option. Display action set. Don't beep. I'm running my words together. So you can literally just let go of the stick or like flick it if you want to, and it'll open stuff up, right? And there also is going to be an option for like cancel, whatever, you get the idea. I can change these like in there to have their own custom icons and shit, right? And it's just absolutely fucking wild. That's herpes, not herpes. That's the nonsense word that I threw in there. But yeah, so you're going to get these crazy radial menus. I can have one for both of these and just give you, basically my vision for these radial menus is like super quick access to the kind of stuff that shows up in the keyboard controls at the bottom there, right? So all of your survival stuff, all of your follower stuff, horse stuff, all of that stuff is going to be really easily accessible from these radial menus. You're going to be able to access all of the hotkeys from, just holding a button and tapping it, right? You're going to have the cyclers still on your other buttons. All the buttons that now don't even have bindings because we've put so much stuff on all those other easy to access ones are free to do. Like B is going to be the dodge button or whatever. Like you just have all this ability to do whatever, right? You can even create nested radial menus if you want to. So here's the thing. What if they don't use Steam? That would be a problem for this gamepad control scheme, to be honest with you. But I don't actually know if ever we're going to support non-Steam versions anyway. So if there comes a time when actually it's advantageous for us to, or there's a need for us to support non-Steam versions, right? Like right now, non-Steam versions of Skyrim cannot even install Wildlander. If that changes, then we can start kind of discussing those things and maybe, taking the time to develop an alternative. But this is so robust, it's so powerful, and there's honestly, at least for the radial menus, there's alternatives. So, like for example, the keyboard's probably not going to be able to access those Steam radial menus, or maybe there's a way to do it. I might be able to do that too. Actually, you know what? I'm sure that there is. Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if the keyboard can access the Steam radial menus, but the keyboard actually, it's not as important for it to be able to access those because the keyboard has easy wheel menu. Easy wheel menu works just fine as a radial menu for keyboard users because it's still like the mouse is what it responds to, right? Easy wheel menu does not work as a radial menu for gamepad users because it's not actually a radial menu. It's just a series of, if you don't use a mouse to select the option, you actually have to like navigate it like a regular menu with the gamepad. I don't know if y'all know that if you've ever used it with a gamepad, but you would think it's going to be radial and it's not. It's actually, and if anything, it's worse than a regular menu because it looks like it's a radial and you're going to try and use it like a radial and it's not going to work the way you hope. And you're going to go, huh? But for the keyboard, we're just going to put easy wheel back in there. Basically give you access to all of these things that it's like, I'm the one who designed this control scheme. Most of the time I remember where most of it is, right? But a lot of the time, no, I don't remember where a lot of this shit is. I would prefer having an easy wheel that I can just hit instead of like maybe the tween menu. You just have that be the easy wheel menu and I change the way it looks so that you still get basically the tween menu functionality, but you also get easy access to nested easy wheels that have all of this stuff. So the overarching idea here is that you have layers of redundancy in accessing all of these different powers and abilities. You have access not only to, the 8 hotkeys, whether you're on the keyboard or the gamepad, but you also have access to the cyclers, which again are now extremely powerful because of Elden Equip. And you get access to those on both the keyboard and the gamepad. If you don't want to use any of that stuff and you're like a keyboard user, right, you can still hit those keys like with this. Or see someone, Kilted Frog just said I prefer to keep the keyboard open. Or once we go in, I'm going to go in and build like an MCM or a settings menu that collates all the different bindings that we have here so that you don't have to go like digging through MCMs to find them. I'm going to have you very easily be able to change these controls to whatever you want them to be. So not only do you have layers of redundancy where you can, and I forgot the easy wheel is what you can also use on the keyboard to just access all that stuff. So you have multiple ways to access all of these different things. You have all the hotkeys plus the cyclers, and you also have an easy to customize control scheme that you can just change it however you want it to be, right? And that to me is like what I was telling my wife the other day, because I was like, I was working on the control scheme today, and she was like, oh man, like really? Like you've been working on it for so long. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of crazy how now the analogy that I would use is that up until now, there have always been tools missing from our control scheme toolbox, right? Like if you just in your head imagine how any other game that you've ever played controls, like can control, right? Let's just assume, we had total laissez-faire to like execute whatever we wanted. Like all the different control schemes that you've ever experienced we've only been able to do a fraction of what those controls can do because I think Rob said it earlier. We don't have like low-level access to the game, right? In order to be able to change how it works fundamentally. Such tools as a toolbar or as a radial menu or as being able to hold down one button in order to use it as a modifier key to then use other buttons. These are all like tools within a toolbox that you can use to kind of design like or a cycler would be another tool. These are all just tools in a toolbox. Many of those tools have been missing for us historically. It has now gotten to the point where I kind of feel like we have all the tools, right? Like there have been so many frameworks that have been built now that allow us to do things that we couldn't do before, that it's kind of like now it's just a matter of design. Like we have the tools that we need. We have all the stuff that we could use to build whatever control scheme we want, more or less. The only things I can think of that we're missing would be like hotkey modifiers for keyboards. So like a shift 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is like kind of possible through some of the hotkey mods, but a little bit tricky. Like maybe we'd still be able to do something like that. It's just we have everything kind of, you know what I mean? So that's really exciting, and it now kind of puts you in a spot where you can kind of just design your thing and have relative security in the idea that, you know, some new tool isn't just going to come along that like massively changes the design. Or if that happens, then it happens. Sometimes it does. And you can iterate on it then if, you know, there's some way that you can benefit from it and it's worth the time investment. But as it is, I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine like getting or like what else we'd want, you know what I mean? And I'm just really fucking stoked about being able to do all this stuff. Is it possible to create context-based menus? Unfortunately not. Okay, theirs would be a tool that would be really fun to have. Well, sort of. Like a right-click menu, right, is contextual, right? What the heck? Maturing hairline. I don't think I have a maturing hairline. Or like, maybe I do. I don't know. You tell me. See it there. I think it's just because my hair is very long in front. But the contextual menu is like a right click, right? Yes. So what you can do with activators, you can have a message box pop up that, you know, has different options. That's like kind of a contextual menu. It's not really the same as having like a real right click menu. That would be great. That's a toolbox that I think, or sorry, a tool in the toolbox that they would be nice to get. And if that ever happens, maybe it's possible. I don't know. But I still think that we can really do some cool stuff with the tools that we got. To be honest, this sounds needlessly complicated to me, although I'm not a game designer, so have at it. I mean, it might end up being complicated. I know it sounds complicated, and I'm talking like a mile a minute, and who knows, you might end up feeling that way, but there's a lot of words to describe what I do think is going to be a very intuitive system, especially when paired with visual prompts, right? So like, for example, you hold left bumper, I'm planning on having something show you kind of like, oh, here comes the spam. Press this button to access like this, or even just like a little like the sticks like icons pop up, so you know if you hit the sticks you get the radial menu, and then it's obviously the radial menu shows you exactly what everything is. The hotbar at the bottom will have little button prompts on them to tell you like, hey, if you're on gamepad, hit this button up, down, left, right to tell you what corresponds to what. And then, you know, the face buttons, A, B, X, Y. The cyclers on the left and right side of the screen, you go back to like the mock-up here, right? Imagine, I'm going to make like a very quick version of this. And also these are still far too big. Let's just, you know, there. Still too big probably, but for the sake of conversation, we'll just put them there. Whoops. Imagine like something like when you hold this left bumper menu or whatever it is, you get, you know, up, down, left, right, or what, A, B, X, Y, and it doesn't display otherwise. And then over here you get either all the time or only some of the time. I haven't decided. Also, maybe I'll put these like there or something for each one, and kind of, it's not the right shape or size. But imagine like a button telling you what this button does, like at all given times. Or sorry, how to access like that cycler is what I meant to say. It should be extremely, extremely obvious what to press to get each effect, right? And again, you will have these layers of redundancy where it's just like, do you prefer using the radial menus? Do you prefer using some combo of gamepad and keyboard? Whatever way seems easiest or preferable to you or most intuitive, you will have the ability to do that, or at least that's the goal. There should be a lot of flexibility in terms of the options that are available to you, as contrasted against how it is now, where it's like hold on, sorry, I'm trying to get rid of this spam. I forgot to do it. Wait, it's gone already, at least on my thing. Maybe just auto spammed and then got taken out in the, or sorry, it doesn't get taken out in Restream. But yeah, you have the way it is now, there's not a whole lot of alternative. Like if you're playing with a gamepad, you literally have to use, yeah, it's not going to get taken off the video. You have to use the keyboard. Like if you do like this, just ignore the top bit because none of those, that's all secondary, right? Like those control schemes. That's not how it is. But you, for like what, drink, refill, just pretend that all the buttons at the top of the screen for the gamepad aren't there, because they aren't. That was like an early, I made this visual before I finalized the gamepad stuff. This was a long time ago. If you want to build, fire, forage, break down, craft, wash, all those things, horse whistle, there are no buttons for that on the gamepad right now. They're also like, they've all been, uh-oh, did I break it? I did. I broke it. Oops, how did I crash the game? Oopsie. But I was going to go into the powers menu where you can see that like I don't like how the powers menu gets all super cluttered. So I removed the powers menu version of like a lot of those keyboard powers. And so there's literally no way to access it unless you use the gamepad with the keyboard in tandem. And it's just like not a good experience, and there's no redundancy. You can't easily customize any part of it. The controls are all buried in various menus. If you try to change the controls, you can actually like fuck it up permanently. And I don't know. I think that it's going to be vastly superior. And that's basically my pitch, y'all. I'm now overtime. I was supposed to sign off at 3, but I like talking about the controls and the HUD and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, what's up, JJ? Sorry, just coming into the tail end. But yeah, and of course this is not necessarily like, I threw this mock-up, these together in 2 seconds. It's not necessarily where they would be. Honestly, I think there's a pretty good idea, or a pretty good chance that these squares would be in that spot. But of course the menu is going to be contextual. When and where these things pop up is still up in the air, like the contextual part. There's always going to be the option to just turn the HUD off. Like even if it is contextual, even the stuff that is appearing contextually, you'll be able to turn off with a touch of a button, so you can have that full immersive experience, because that's very important to me personally. I like to see what I want to see when I want to see it, and then if I don't want to see it, I can turn it off easily. Of course, Batora. Yeah, I mean, gamepad, I love using the gamepad because for certain things, it's just so much more cinematic. Like, you can walk around analog movement. I know that there's mods for that on keyboard and mouse, and maybe I can add them in or something. Like, that would be cool as well. And as long as we're, on this kick of adding redundancy for controls, I would not be opposed. But it's just easy to do with the gamepad. I like to move around with the gamepad. I like moving the camera with the gamepad a lot of the time. I don't really like fighting with the gamepad, but I might if I had more control. I don't like fighting with the gamepad because I don't like being in the fucking favorites menu all the time. And I think with these, like, imagine if accessing your, hotbar was as simple as like left bumper A, left bumper B. Like, that's easy. Like, I can hit that 2 seconds, and like the muscle memory, just like you start to develop it. And I think that it I think that it becomes pretty easy after a while. I think there's definitely a learning curve. I think it's like Breath of the Wild, right? Like, I still don't think Breath of the Wild's control scheme is good. or good is such a vague term. I don't think it's simple or easy. I think that it works. I think that it works once you get used to it. It's like, becomes fine. And I think this will be like that. And frankly, I think it's going to be even more I think it's going to be easier to use than that. I think the learning curve is going to be not as bad, but don't hold me to that. Yes, analog keyboards are wild. I've still never owned one. I know that they exist though. Yeah, Breath of the Wild is super hard to learn. It's like once you kind of pick it up, once the muscle memory kicks in, I think it works, but it's not what I'd call intuitive. Anyway, that's my pitch, y'all. We talked about a lot of different stuff today. I don't want to do the stream summary for this one, but maybe I will. It just takes too long, so I have to watch through my own things, but maybe I'll just maybe what I'll do, instead of getting the timestamps, I'll just say, I know we talked about this. And in fact, I'm going to make a list of... Can you guys help me do this right now before I sign off? Let's... What were the mechanics that we talked about today? We got... We talked about the factions plus relationships. We talked about... currency, coins, carry weight. We talked about the economy, regional economies. We talked about seasons. We talked about the dynamic world plus emergent factions. We got, suggestions cleared. I'll put that one on the list, that's for sure. Thank you, Lizzie. What else? We talked about, travel, fast travel, and carriages. And we got, obviously, HUD plus controls. We've got wounds. Yes, thank you. Wounds and injuries. We talked a little bit about... What's that about flight simulators, Rob? Those are complicated control schemes. Is that what you're talking about? What else? Does that cover it? That's a lot of stuff for one stream. Yeah. Season's probably pretty far. It really, it's when we talked about opening up customization. It relates to that pipeline. So that the customization pipeline is going to be the X factor there, figuring out where, or just to what extent we might be able to expect kind of some help or experience some help developing certain things. Presumably it's going to quicken the pace at least to some degree, and that will kind of determine how quickly we're able to tackle some of these things. I think that's everything, right? It was a lot of topics in today's stream. Because, basically, it's all fresh in my head, too, just because we've been working on clearing the suggestions. I'll add a roadmap plus roadmap. That's quite a lot. That's going to be one hell of a post. I'll figure out when I'm going to do that. Oh, VR. Yeah, we did do that. Be like, VR would like to... That's the ESL thing. That's a bummer. That's, let's see. How much... If we sort by mod index, here, let's just do this. All plugins 3, that's a lot of plugins. There's no way. ESPs plus ESMs, we have 175, so that puts us about, 2/3 of the way to the limit. And we have 193 ESLs, so there's no way that's gonna fly we're already, over 100 beyond the limit. Yeah, we basically, unfortunately the VR part is don't know if we're going to be able to do that. Oh, thank you, Wash. Yeah, I mean, it's basically right now. It seems like don't know if we're I really don't know if we're gonna be able to support non-Steam versions, and if we do, then the controls, then we'll get to revisit them again and figure out some way to approximate it. I mean, even some of these changes that I'm talking about, like what you wouldn't have if you didn't have the Steam controls, you wouldn't have the Steam radial menu, you wouldn't have the all 8 of the hotkeys on the gamepad. Like, you wouldn't have any of the functionality that allows you to, or depends on being able to hold a button down, like the modifier. Right. GOG. That's a good one to put in there as well. Let's see. I'll say VR, GOG, and Epic, and why they won't work as of now. Alright, well, I think that's pretty much everything. If I forgot anything, please feel free to let me know and message me the cursed versions. And yeah, I think that just about covers it, y'all. It's I'm gonna have to sign off. I'm 16 minutes late, but I'm late to everything, so it is what it is. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the stream. We really did cover a lot of topics. I'm just gonna eventually, maybe we'll get timestamps, and when at least until we have the roadmap up and we can just point people to that, I'm gonna and then there's one other thing for like the roadmap, say plus Trello guide, how there's gonna be a guide to navigating the Trello. You could potentially combine plugins. It's just like, we don't have a lot of plugins that could be, well, maybe we do. Maybe we have some that could be pretty easily combined. It's just shit starts to get weird when you start combining plugins, to be honest. Or it just becomes harder to keep track of. That's why ESLs were such a godsend. When I learned about, that was like one of the biggest things. When I was working on Ultimate Skyrim back on Legendary Edition and I learned about ESLs, I was like, what? Like, no way. Yeah, combining plugins is difficult from a technical perspective sometimes. I mean, there's a lot of utilities that make it a lot easier, but it just sucks. Kind of, you have to be really thorough with documentation, or if you're not, then you just you will probably regret it later. All right, y'all. Thank you again for hanging out on this very extensive stream. Let's see, who do we got to rate? I really do appreciate it. We got, man, I swear it's kind of like the same people, but they're people that I really like. I don't know if you guys do. I always like rating my boy Jupiter Climb. I rated him last week. I don't really have a ton of other. I got Wolf DNC playing Resident Evil 4. You got Zizarin playing old school RuneScape. You guys want to raid Zizarin? You know him? Raid an Overwatch stream? I could do that. They made Pars. No, I don't want to make Pars cry. Yeah, JJ, you would, I'm sure. I'm going to raid Zizarin. He's a Path of Exile streamer. This is a funny raid because it's like I don't even know how many of us, but he's got 1.2 thousand viewers. Well, I feel bad about that. Let's raid Jupiter. Jupiter's the best, and he's playing Order of Ecclesia, which is always my favorite. Hopefully that's okay with you guys. I love Castlevania. I love side-scrolling RPGs, combat RPGs, and Jupiter's he's an entertaining streamer and also just like a good dude, at least as far as I've ever been able to tell. I really like his streams a lot, so I'm going to do that. And I would raid Ziz, but it's like, a 1.2 thousand view. Well, maybe I shouldn't look at it this way. It's like, even a 1.2 thousand K or 1.2K viewership, I'm sure appreciates a raid, but I just like raiding smaller channels instead because it's more fun. It's more personal, Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. If you have questions that we didn't get to in this stream, then feel free to, toss them at me every whatever which way. It's hard to believe, but, stuff doesn't occur until later. I understand that. And, yeah, I should be here. I'm going to double check my schedule. I should be here next Friday, I believe. Yes, I will be. Oh yeah, of course, because we're gonna have a Halloween party on next Saturday. Anyway, thank you very much for hanging out. I really do appreciate it. Hope it was a fun time, and y'all stay safe and take care until the next time I see you. All right, stick around for this sick jupe raid. All right, here we go. Goodbye, everybody. Bye bye.